Bro, this is an expensive mic. That's a
Okay.
bullshit USB mic.
You just got a
Like,
mic like this
This is
year,
a
so
SB. This is SB 75, honey. Mm-hmm.
whatever the hell that means.
Yeah,
mm,
that's what I thought. Of course, you don't know. My
I don't I don't
microphone's
know.
expensive.
I don't know what any
Google
of
it.
this I don't know what anything in my studio is or what it does. I just press a button and it all turns on,
A
except for
button.
the camera.
Mm.
Yeah, no
Ed
shit.
set it up where I press a button on an app.
And Ed's done with travel, so you're fucked. You're fucked until he's traveling again because he can't walk you through that shit.
He was here for 2 days last week
I
doing
know.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
You had
now
the
I can't work my camera, so clearly I'm
so you
already
had the
fucked.
opportunity to learn how to use your camera. You're like my parents with technology. Like they don't understand technology.
So you'll still always be older than me, so
That's fine. I understand technology though.
yeah. All right. Well, next subject.
Ah.
All
Yeah,
right.
they
This
suck.
is well, at least you got like a shitty camera like the rest of us, so it all works. You
Yeah,
don't
I
look
mean,
too
Yeah.
fucking fancy out here. The video I did the other day, I was like, Jesus Christ, I gotta change all my stuff. My shit's all grainy and my white light's reflecting off my walls, and you've got like a fucking sex dungeon sort of thing going on, and it's
it's on
but
brand.
right.
Yeah,
I mean
but
it tracks.
you do have Wakanda
Tracks.
Forever behind you.
I do. We
That's
just finished
impressive.
that like last night. Got it for my birthday in September, and me and Rylan just finally finished building that fucking thing last night.
Yeah, nice. Nice.
Like
Oh,
4,000 pieces.
puppy.
Oh,
Hey.
that's Victor. That's the three-legged one.
Oh.
We got some very bad news about Victor over the weekend.
Oh
So
no.
he will not be here this time next week.
Oh. Oh
Yeah.
no.
He's in he's in congestive heart failure, and his kidneys will
Uh,
probably be going in the next couple days. They got
oh
him on so
no.
much Lasix to keep the fluid out of his lungs that they figured they don't know which one's gonna go first.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
so I figure I was like, we better do this before the week ends, because then I don't think I'm gonna be very entertaining on a
Yeah.
mic for a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understandable.
So I've been hanging out with him all weekend. But all right, let's fucking pull the Debbie Downer shit out of here and let's do something. All right. All right. Jesus, where are we going? All right, guys, what's going on? It's Zach at All Strength Training. I've got a fascinating lineup on my screen right now. So I've got two very entertaining guests for us. First, I've got Luke Leaman. I've known Luke since 2010.
Good. Well, yeah, long time.
Yeah, Luke was one of the instructors of my very first biosignature course. He's the guy who pinched my nipples in front of a room full of people and told me I was fat. He took my skin fold calipers in front of a room full of like 40 people, and he told me I was fat and I was not muscular enough to flex my triceps like that. So that was my first interaction with him. It was in Toronto in 2010. Yeah. And I hired him as a coach the next year. So
amazing.
Was that the
it's
is that the one there was like 90 people there? Is it that
yeah,
one?
it took
Yeah.
forever. They had to break up all the skin fold testing over like the whole 4 days or whatever,
Yeah.
because it was ridiculous. Yeah, so I've known Luke way too fucking long. Luke owns Muscle Nerds, so online education platform, also offer coaching. So I've taken probably, I don't know how many courses you have, 10. I've probably taken all 10 of
Yeah,
them.
all of them.
Yeah.
I think.
And
Yeah.
then basically, you're like my second dad.
Hey,
And
daddy.
then I've also got Ali Gilbert on with me. So Ali, I know through Luke. Ali is currently working under Luke. She is one of Luke's clients. She also runs the Silverback community, a men's health, what we call it, platform. Besides just the seminar,
Yeah.
like it offers coaching, obviously primarily for men who want to get jacked and lean and not resort to stupid things to do it. She's also a ridiculously, I think at this point, well-known TRT expert. So you can search her name on Instagram and find a bajillion video clips of her stuff. basically all over everything. Table Talk, Mark Bell's Power Podcast. Have you been on Rogan yet? Is that like next on your list?
That would be awesome, but not yet.
Well, we can tag him in this and see if we can push that.
I'm sure he'll jump on it. He'll be like, "Oh my God,
Yes.
I've been
Oh,
missing
absolutely.
out."
Well, why not? I mean, he'll basically take anybody.
I'm actually shocked that Luke didn't interject and say my favorite client.
See, that was actually a question I had on my list because I haven't trained with Luke since 2015, but I wanted to ask him on camera who was an easier client to coach.
Mhm.
Out of who? You two?
Me, us two, yes. This is very
Oh,
important.
you for sure. You for
Ha!
sure.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So fucked up.
But Allie's the stronger out of both of you. So
That's
Oh,
probably
shit.
accurate.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
accurate.
no.
I'm
And
fine
she's got
with
the
that.
and she's got a bigger dick. So
That's, well, you know,
yeah.
Than both of you, I think.
we can't
Yeah.
have everything.
Everybody has a bigger dick than me.
That's the unfortunate truth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, Eddie Coan commented on my bench press, so I think I can retire now.
Nice.
Basically, that's like top of the line right there.
So
I would like-
at Swiss, he came up to me and I didn't even know he knew who I was. I've seen him a million times. We've crossed paths. I was always too chicken shit to say hi, and he made a point to come up to me and say something, and it took me by surprise. So I wasn't trying to be rude, but it came off as rude, and I was like, oh my God, I just insulted Ed Coan. Fuck. Holy. So I had to get up and run after him and apologize. And he shook my hand and I was like, I'm never washing this hand again. I've got to go work out before and take advantage of the aura that he just put in my hand. I was like so stoked.
Yeah, I was there for that. It was fascinating to watch you shake his hand because you're like up here and he's down here. So you're like towering over him, but then you're like folding over with both hands out so you can shake his hand.
I was like bowing to him like like, yes, sensei, yes, sensei. And then I got a picture of it and I'm like, is that like, it was just such a weird picture because I did have to bend over and I'm like, man, that's like, was that insulting? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't, you know,
culturally,
the same thing. Is it like when I talk to Ali, I have to bend over
from
too.
Chicago. There is no culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's like my height, or even he might be even shorter. I can't remember.
He's like, I watch. He's gonna see this, and he's gonna yell at me. I think he's only like 5'6", maybe shorter. I think
dude, his grip is still so strong.
Well, his hands are like garbage cans. They're huge.
Yeah.
Banana hands.
It's insane. All right, let's try like start having a topic and then we'll see where this goes. So I wrangle these two up to kind of start by giving some advice to trainers that we see coming up in the industry, you know, but to collectively between the three of us, I don't know how much training experience we have. I've been training now for 20 years, like professionally. Luke, you've been training since even before that, I think, right?
Yeah.
So 2003.
25, 26 years, I think.
Okay.
Since I started when I was 19, 20, and I'm now 40, almost 46. Ooh,
yeah. Okay.
wow.
Damn, you're old.
Yeah. And Ali, how long have you been training now? Like professionally, not lifting weights?
About 20.
Okay. That's
because I'm 42.
So collectively, our training experience qualifies for AARP. So that's pretty solid.
Well, so Luke is going to shit his pants probably during this time. So
probably.
Perfect.
So I put my diapers on.
Hopefully we'll tilt the camera down and catch it. Not literally, but like video.
That would should come with a rating. Like,
I'm going to have to put one of those, like, look, if you're here for like YouTubing how to do exercises, maybe run the fuck away right now. Because this is not going to be that.
NC7.
Yes. I mean, basically, you should just put like one of the dick images that you used during the Silverback Summit at the beginning of this, and but like, if this offends you, just leave now, because everything else is going to be worse. Basically. So, all right. So we've all been training 20 years or more professionally. So I just got a fucking ACE cert so that I could train out of the gym at University of Iowa and not get in trouble for it. And then I eventually piggybacked it into a full-time career. Luke, how did you get into training?
Uh, well, so I started because I started lifting when I was really young. I started lifting when I was like 8, as you do in Texas for high school football. And I was actually really lucky to have a lot of good coaches, high school coaches
Wait,
and
you were in
junior high
high school at
coaches.
8?
No, no.
That would have
But
been
8
really
wouldn't shock
impressive.
me.
It would have been real.
how old are you when you get into junior high? What are you like
12, 13.
sixth
11,
grade?
11,
Like
12. I don't
11?
know.
Yeah, so like
Something like that.
we had really, really good coaching staff. So when I got into junior high, like most of our coaches either played collegiate football or powerlifters. A lot of them, like we had probably half the staff were powerlifters. And so I actually got a really good um, education in school for that, which is unusual in most high schools. Most high school coaches have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. So like even in high school, like we used most of our programming was Bill Starr's programming. So
Hmm.
we were actually doing power cleans and doing them correctly too, but not with great equipment because it's Mahia, Texas. It's fucking less than 7,000 people. So way out in the country, most of our shit that we were training with was welded together by my uncle in the 1970s in the shop class. Like it's
Nice.
like they're putting an engine in a car and welding squat racks. But so yeah,
I like
so
it.
I started training then and started powerlifting. And then when I left high school, I kept doing it. And when I went to college to be a computer programmer. And I wanted to go because I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. And my parents like, there's no way, like you didn't get a scholarship. You were close to getting a scholarship. You can't get any grants because my parents were in that weird section where we were too poor to really afford college, especially extended college. But
Hmm.
they were too middle class to get free money. So we were kind of stuck in that limbo area, that gray, nasty area. So I went as a computer programmer and realized I don't want to do this because after the first year, I was sitting there, 240-pound bodybuilder with a bunch of fucking Poindexters. So if anybody wants to see the people I went to school with, just watch Revenge of the Nerds. And I'm like, there's no way I don't want to work with guys like this the rest of my life because I'm the goose out of the duck, duck, goose in the room. So these guys are going to make my life a living hell because they're going to remember some jock kick sand in their face and they're not going to think that I'm one of them and all that. So I decided to go get training certification. So I asked my parents for $600 a loan, and I'd pay them back to go do my training certification. So then I went and did the ISSA. And what's funny is, like you, like I went to get what there wasn't a lot of choices back there. It was like ACE,
Hmm.
NASM, and I didn't have any interest in doing sports medicine standing on BOSU balls.
Hmm.
I did ISSA because Dr. Fred Hatfield was the president and Tom Platz was one of the instructors. So I was like, okay, that's my type of people. And my lecturer for our seminar was Tom Platz. So that was
Oh,
fucking
nice.
cool. Yeah.
That's
Nice.
cool.
Yeah. So that's how I got my start. Yeah.
Nice. Ali, what about you?
Uh, so I was competing in cycling in high school and soccer, and my soccer coach brought me to Gold's Gym when I was 15 years old, and obviously way different from now. And I was like, oh, this is lifting. This is cool. Like it was, I actually really loved it. Didn't really know what I was doing, but he kind of brought me through everything. And then I ended up playing soccer at Springfield College, and Springfield's known for like exercise science based majors. And that was the only school I applied early because they had exercise science. Like that was not really a popular like degree.
Hmm.
So that was really awesome to me because I was like, oh, we have lab in bench press. Like I had to literally like write out how you bench press for strength conditioning lab. And I went there thinking I was going to do more like clinical ex phys because I was like, I'm going to work with all the Olympic cyclists. And then you realize how fucking boring that shit is. Fell in love with strength conditioning. And I was like, I'm going to be the first female in the NFL strength coach. That didn't happen.
Ah,
And so I was like, I want to train athletes just like everybody. And that didn't really happen either. But you learn quickly how like dealing with the college sector and all that works and everything. And then it wasn't until I graduated that I really started getting into actual training. Because in college, like we had to lift for soccer, but this was like total chick thing. So we would all go lift. Nobody would lift what we were supposed to lift because we were afraid of getting too bulky. And then everybody would go over to the campus gym to do cardio after. And like we would get in trouble. Like our coaches like would see us going in there and pull us out. Or if any of us went for a run, like on our off days, like they would literally pull over the side of the road and they'd be like, stop, go back to your dorm. You're not supposed to be doing this, you know, because we were psychos. I guess I still am a psycho, but like we literally were like terrified of putting on weight. And then it was still fun. So we did like all the, you know, usual Olympic lifting and all that stuff. And I think my first cert was actually USA weightlifting, but our class in school was set up to take the CSCS. So I took the CSCS on like Scantron with pencil in like 2003 when I graduated. I was like, oh shit, man. Those were the days when you had to like dissect like on like a pull out projector. They would show like a video of someone doing like a lat pull down. You'd have to like write down all that stuff. Now it's like on the computer and stuff, you know, technology.
So it's like Instagram with pencils.
Yeah. Basically. Yeah.
Watch someone do this, tell them how bad they suck at it, but you can't tell them to their face.
Correct. So it was like the beginning of, you know, emulating what a troll would actually do eventually. And I actually taught a lot of spinning because my cycling coach owned a gym that was just spin classes, but it was not like the stupid spin classes where they do all that weird shit. It was literally like an actual bike ride. And I remember like recording tapes off the radio to play in the spin class. Like, this is how old. And I remember saying, like, I wish we could just take a CD and burn that or make that. And then, you know, that technology came and it took like a half hour to do that. And having a CD burner in school was like, oh, you're so bougie.
It's funny how you say like back then, all the girls thought, you know, I'm going to get bulky. So they wouldn't train hard with the weights. They do too much cardio. And then all the guys would be like, I can't train hard enough. And we just destroy ourselves. And we'd go into the gym, even though you're sore as fuck and you're limping around and you're still going in. And it's like somewhere in the middle of both of those things is like the perfect area. But it's funny how women and men viewed that stuff back then. And when I got into you guys will remember when we got into the industry, it was not cool to be a trainer. Like my parents, when I asked them for the money to get my training certification, they basically laughed at me and said, you'll never make a career out of this. And now it's like one of the hottest careers on the face of the planet. Everybody wants to be a fucking trainer, which is a whole nother fucking problem.
Oh yeah,
dude, I remember sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
So like going to NSC, my first NSCA conference was 2004 out of college. And you could not say that you were a trainer. You had to say strength coach. Because if you said you were a personal trainer, you were just like looked upon as like this peon and you were just not cool. Like, God forbid. So I'd be like, yeah, I'm a strength coach. And they're like, where? I'm just like, oh, in Connecticut. Like I was just being very vague about where I worked because it was mortifying to say that you actually worked in a commercial gym.
Yeah.
Remember remember the era where everybody didn't want to be a personal trainer anymore and they all called themselves strength coaches, even though they were weak as fuck and they'd never actually trained any strong people?
So you never actually trained an athlete at all.
Or they met a professional one once and they're like, yeah, I worked with him.
They handed them Gatorade and towels, so therefore they trained them.
Gotta have a t-shirt with the word coach emblazoned on the back of it and then like a stopwatch slung backwards over your shoulder. And
dude,
that's
my first job was at World Gym and I had to wear, it was a men's medium, which it was like a dress on me.
I would say that's a huge.
And the sleeves were like down to here and it said coach on or trainer on the back. I was like, oh, it's awful.
Were you one of the only, you would probably be one of the only women at those conferences at that time.
Oh yeah. It was amazing. I would tell like the girls I was friends with, I'm like, you guys are missing out. The bar is not the place to be. Come to these conferences because that is where the men are and they're all jacked. And you could always tell who was at the conference, like especially in Vegas. This side of the pool was like all the jack shreddy people because everybody would diet for this conference. And then on the other side of the pool was like the regular America.
Sounds like bukkake heaven for you.
It's still what? Well, it's not still. Yeah, it is heaven. It was great. And now it's obviously, you know, much more women, which is fantastic, but it's definitely like there was like 10 of us, literally. and 6 of them would swing the other way. So it was more for me. So
I remember I had to defend to my wife's dad having a career as a trainer, because there were multiple times where he's like, so when are you gonna actually get a real job so you can
no.
support my daughter? And because like there was a time where we were going through some financial issues, so we borrowed some money from them, and it was like a big, like he could like corner me on this sort of stuff, and like, all right, like we're gonna like loan you the money, but like when are you gonna get a real job? Your degree's in sales and marketing, like when are you gonna start using that? And now we have a gym, and then now my wife will get a call from him, but like, hey, can I borrow money? And I'm like, oh wait,
Oh man.
I don't,
Why
you,
don't
you
you why
can't though,
don't you
because
go back to work?
I don't have the real job.
So you guys have been
Strange.
together forever, right?
Yeah, we're what, fucking 2006 we got married. So what year is this? So it'll be 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, my oldest is 16. He's supposed to start driving sometime soon whenever he gets his license.
Isn't that
So
like amazing? Can you picture having a 16-year-old kid, Luke?
Hell no. I am a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah. You're so
it's
mature,
funny.
Zach.
My no, not even close. My 16-year-old and my 14-year-old both fucking love lifting. My 16-year-old is in wrestling, and then my 14-year-old just wants to like, he's told me he basically wants to take over my gym when I'm too old to run it. So he just wants to get jacked as fuck. He'll like sit in our bedroom and he'll want to compare hamstrings. Like he's that sort of stuff. So like they'll get into these monstrous dick swinging competitions of who has better arms and who can lift more on this and who can lift more on that. So that's all the testosterone running around my house nonstop.
I love
It's
that.
ridiculous. Chris,
Sounds
my
like
wife
Luke and
Chrissy
I Zoom call.
dies. Yes, it's fucking. I had to actually get out the tape measure one day to tape their arms because they were fighting, like almost gonna actually fist fight over who had bigger arms. So I got out the measuring tape. I was like, look, this is the only thing I'm taping. So let's be clear, it stops here. But
In Chicago, what's the process of getting a license?
uh take driver's ed usually sophomore year. He took it over the summer through like an independent thing because he didn't want to kill a credit taking driver's ed
Mm.
at the school. But then technically, as soon as you're 16, if you have enough driving hours in, and they make you get like 50 hours of drive time outside of driver's ed before you can actually get your license. So we got to like keep track on a spreadsheet of how much time he spent.
Mm.
And so he just doesn't have the drive time because he's been in sports. So as soon as he's
Yeah.
got the drive time, we're like, dude, here's your license. Now it's time to take yourself to practice so we don't have to do it.
Man, because in Texas, it's like, oh man, I'm becoming 16. I gotta have my license. I gotta have a car. Like the day you turn 16, you're like, yeah, here we go.
I mean, he's a little spoiled because neither me or my wife work regular jobs in the sense of like we don't have like strict 9 to 5s. Usually one of
Yeah.
us, if I'm at work, she's usually not, or vice versa. So we can usually get them to and from places. And the high school is 6 minutes from our house.
Yeah.
So like it's not like when I grew up in Iowa, the town I grew up in, the census on it had 158 people in it. Yeah.
Wow.
It's 20
Holy
minutes
moly.
was 20 minutes away from the Field of Dreams that the movie was made at. But it was 45 minutes to drive to high school. So
Oh
I had
my
to
Holy
leave the
shit.
gosh.
house. I had to leave the house at like 6:45 or like 6:15 if it was snowing, because that shit was awful. Because like dirt roads and gravel roads in snow and in ice and like a piece of shit station wagon. That's how I got to and from places.
I don't know how
So
you guys do the snow. Fuck that.
it's
No.
terrible.
I had
It's
enough of that when I moved to Rhode Island. Fuck, man. The first a snow comes down. I'm like, oh, look, it's snow. It's beautiful. Look at this. And I'm driving on the highway. And then it just didn't stop. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how to drive in this. What the fuck? And it got old real fucking quick.
Yeah, I took driver's ed over the winter, and one of the first things they would do is there was like a second school parking lot that they would intentionally not let people park in during like driver's ed. So they would take you out in the snow and they would make you start doing donuts. And then the instructor would just slam on the fucking brakes and make you correct it. And worst case, you would just run into a snowdrift and then get out and do it all over again. So that's how you learn to correct like fishtailing and stuff. Is like, well, it
Shit.
was like the car that they used, it was like a 1986 Ford Tempo. It had like no floorboards. Like you could pick up the floor mat and you could see the road under the floor mat. Like that
Wow.
kind of, so they didn't care if you hurt the car. But then the instructors like let you get some speed, and then he just slam on the brakes and just hope that we didn't kill anybody.
That's awesome.
So I highly doubt they can get away with that anymore. But that's how I learned to drive in the snow, so I'm not scared
Yeah.
of it. But yeah,
You
Christine
you
hates
can't
it.
get away with anything anymore.
No, absolutely not. They probably have like a simulation with like VR to do stuff like that now. Just running around in a padded room, and then they throw you into a wall, and that's how you simulate a car crash.
Oh my God.
Feels like simulating car crashes basically summarizes my high school. All right. Holy shit. Okay. So collectively, like what are things you guys would go back and do differently early in your training career? Like for me, I never took any fucking science in school. My degree's in sales and marketing. Like I assume my goal was not to train athletes. My goal was to go work for Nike. So I thought I was gonna like be the dude in the boardroom with like a clipboard and a suit, like selling shit. And then so I skipped
Hmm.
chemistry and biology and anatomy. I didn't take any of that shit until I was already a trainer. So if I could have actually known how relevant that shit actually was, because at least when I started training, all you had to know is like this is your pecs, this is your glutes, this is like it.
Hmm.
There was no fixing anything the way that like now you get all this overlap between trainer, PT, chiro, kind of like you're not technically being a PT, but you can do some shit that can fix some stuff. Fuck, if I could go back and do that, I would have. That's what I would tell
Yeah.
18-year-old me to get my shit together.
I probably would have tried to stay more focused because I was a pretty loose cannon, so I probably would have done a lot less drugs and a lot more studying. And I was already studying a lot back then. So like I had a job throughout a lot of my 20s. I was selling fitness equipment, and I would train people in the morning. I would go into the office 9 to 6 and sell fitness equipment, and then I would train people after work. And I did that almost every day. Like I worked. All I did was work. So I wouldn't change any of that. And what's nice about the job I had is you'd see one or two people all day, sell one treadmill, and you're good for the day. And so I had 9 hours where the store never got dirty because no one ever came in and you didn't have a whole lot to do. So I just studied all day. So I actually just basically spent 60 hours a week studying and then working before and after. So that was actually pretty good. But you didn't have a lot of options back then to learn. And if you wanted to learn continuing education, you had to travel. I'm
Mhm.
always appalled by how much people don't want to travel these days because when I first did it, I had to fly to Chicago, or I had to fly to Rhode Island, or I had to fly to Toronto, or I had to fly to Europe. Like there was only a few Charles and a few other people actually doing Paul Check, Charles doing real education, and is either fly to see them or nothing. And nowadays, people every single time I travel to a country, they're like, "Come here, come to LA, come to Orlando, come to Austin, come to Chicago." I'm like, look, I can only come. I'm flying 15,000 kilometers away and spending all this money. You can get on a 2-hour flight and come see me in the one or two cities I'm at in your country. Um, so yeah, it's such a weird thing these days of how people view education, and they don't want to put any effort or money to do it, and they think they can learn everything on TikTok. But yeah, um, yeah. So I don't think I would change anything else other than probably being a bit more serious about what I was doing, and um, and yeah, I'll try to stay focused. But I was in my 20s, doing a lot of drugs, and I was a bit of a sex maniac. So as you do,
I mean, me too.
yeah.
I didn't know the fitness industry was like that. Like when I got to college, I didn't drink. And I remember like people were like, oh, we're going to go to this party or go to this bar at 11 p.m. And I was like, 11 p.m. That's so late. Like I didn't understand that. I was like more like not a prude, but just like a goody like that. I don't know. And I was like, oh, I didn't party. And then I partied. And then you leave college and then you're like with fitness people and then they're like, do this drug, do that. And I'm like, you guys are like the worst, but we're like the most extreme, obviously, because that's how we operate. So that was most of like my 20s. And somehow I would show up on, I had the Sunday 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. shift. I worked Sunday through Thursday at the gym. So Sundays was just like terrible, just hungover and just like going through the motions with people. But I wouldn't change like the trajectory that I was on. With everything that happened was the way it was supposed to happen for me. And similar to Luke, I spent all my like vacation time or anything on going to conferences and stuff. I never went away to like Cancun or anything where people would go, because I just wanted to go to conferences and I couldn't understand why other people didn't. And there wasn't as many as there are now. So there was like selective ones throughout the year, but that was pretty much, I think, yeah, I enjoyed every minute of everything that I did. I think if anything, it would be like understanding financial literacy a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
business. You know, I remember asking one of my clients, because I trained a lot of the Wall Street guys, and I was like, so should I have like a separate account, like a savings account and a checking account? And he's like,
God.
yeah, you're putting it all in the same one. I was like 22 years old. I'm like, yeah, like I didn't know any of that. You're not taught that. Like we just
Mm-hmm.
acquire money, we pay bills, we spend money on partying, and like you pay rent, and that's like all you're taught. And that's something I think we should have all been taught, you know, like how you handle money, or if you want to go on your own, this is how you set up an LLC and this is what's required, and all those things that they don't offer. But now they're starting to offer at more conferences, business and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
it's like we're in Chicago. I think it's fucking nuts that people won't drive to the suburbs to take a course.
That's bad.
Like in Chicago, like it's one thing. Like I flew to fucking Ireland to see Phil Lerney for 2 days in 2011. I was in Ireland for 48 hours. Like travel time, like landed, we flew to England, then over to Ireland, did the course with no data on my phone. So I can't believe I never got lost in Ireland. Somehow made it back all within 72 hours from like leaving to getting back home. And people are like, why did you go? I'm like, to take a fucking course. I couldn't get anywhere else. And now people who like, they literally have to drive 40 minutes on the freeway to take like a 3-day course. They're like, that's too far. What
That is
the
absurd.
fuck? It's
I mean,
insane.
when I was in my 20s, my mom is like, why are you always broke? I'm like, because I was making good money. When I was selling fitness equipment, I was making 6 figures. I was one of the top
Yeah.
salespeople at our company. And she goes, why are you always broke? I'm like, I'm spending it all on my education. I was spending tens of thousands of dollars on courses and mentorships and all this. And she goes, that's so stupid. Why are you doing that? I'm like, it's an investment. Like that's basically taking college money, taking investment money, and it's going to pay off eventually. She goes, it's not going to pay off. And now it's paid off. So I don't think people understand, like you can't learn all this shit on TikTok or Instagram. You actually have to talk to people who know what they're fucking talking about, and you need to spend time with them and get the whole picture of what they mean, what the context is. You can't get that much out of a 15-second fucking clip or a 2,000 character article. And last, really quick, I don't think people understand how many coaches are big fucking drug heads. Like it is our industry. I actually I knew a lot of people did a lot of this stuff, but I didn't realize how bad it was until I was in London a few years ago giving a course, and all these people, like the UK is good for this. Like they will travel, like they will. London's one of our biggest markets. They go to London, I'll have 60 to 80 people in class. We were doing one, I think we had 40 or so people, and people had to use the bathroom a lot, and I'm like, man, you guys are drinking a lot of water, and everybody had allergies. They were and I was like, I didn't think about it, right? So I'm up there teaching, and the first night we go out for beers after it, and one of the guys comes up to me and goes, hey man, you want some Coke? And I'm like, what? And then it clicked, and I was like, everybody in class, they're all coked out the whole weekend. And he goes, you want some? And I'm like, of course I want some. Are you fucking kidding me? So it's like the whole weekend was my whole class are all fucking coked out. And I'm up there trying to teach a bunch of people who are all fucking sketched and shit and sniffling the whole time.
You know who's worse than the trainers are the sales guys.
Oh,
I used to work
sales
for
are always.
I used to work for
Oh yeah.
24 Hour Fitness before I like after I graduated. In my attempt to have a real job, I did sales for gyms instead of training because I was like, I could probably make more money this way. Holy fuck, the amount of drugs, specifically like muscle relaxers and
Mm.
like oxy and shit like that. Like my
Really?
GM had a $350 a day pill habit. Now, like
What?
he would, as the GM of like this big 45,000 square foot 24 Hour Fitness, like he was the GM when it grand opened. So his first check for his commission, I think was like six figures for the
Yeah.
first month.
Fuck.
Like a month of commission was like six figures. Um, but it was like 350 a day in pills. I swear to God, if you came into that gym in a cast, somehow he was going to have someone, not him, either one of the like new sales guys or like just a random member, find out if you were on painkillers. And then
Wow.
he would want to buy your painkillers from you. It was
That's
fucking, I
wild.
remember I left work on I worked you like 7 to 7 was the normal shift. Is the where you take a 4 hour break in the middle of the day where they still expect you to work, but like technically it's your break. So I would do like a 12-hour day. I left work a Friday night at 7. I came back on Saturday at 7 and I walked into the GM's office to grab something. He was supposed to have been off. And I go in and he's in the chair just like slumped like this. The lights are all off. It's one of those like as soon as you walk in, the lights come on. There's his shirt's covered in drool. He's so fucking drugged out that I was like, is he dead? Like I legit, he didn't move when the lights came on. Nothing. I was like, fuck, is he breathing?
Oh my God.
Oh shit, he's breathing. I left that gym and I actually started working as a trainer at a Gold's gym and I got in a car accident. I got rear-ended. And this was like Facebook existed, but it was like 2008 Facebook, where like it's not nearly the same thing. It's like you
Mm.
only posted fucking Fruit Ninja stuff to your friends or whatever that shit was. But somehow he found out that I was in a car accident. I'm in a gym half a city over. I haven't talked to this guy in 18 months. And suddenly one of my old coworkers comes walking in the front door of Gold's and he's like, so Chris wants to know if you have any Flexeril. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you were in an accident, right? I'm like, how did you find out? Like somehow this dude found out like 18 months later. And I was like, well, yes, I do. He's like, how much do you want for it? I'm like, what's he offering? Like because I went after that accident. I took like a Flexeril and a Soma trying to train people, and I was like, holy shit, I cannot train people on these things because I had like whiplash and like they thought I hit my head and all this other shit. So I tried doing the whole, oh, I'll be fine. I went to work and I started biting my tongue when I was training someone. I was like, I should probably not be training you right now. I'm gonna cancel our session and refund you. Like this is not gonna happen. So it just sat, but he's like, oh, dude wants to know how much money you want and how many refills you have left on. I'm like, okay, well, I was a fairly poor father at the time. My son was, I think, probably 11 months old. I was like, well, this will buy some fucking diapers. So here we
Wow.
go. Yeah. So yeah, the sales guys they're into the not amped amped up shit. They're like, they need stuff to get through the stress of
That's so
sales.
weird because like our guys were all like it was getting wasted, like drunk as shit at night, coming in hungover, and they were all doing either Coke or Crystal.
Really?
Yeah.
We're
I,
such
no, I don't
degenerates.
know. Northern California just wanted to numb sensations, I guess. No one wanted to feel anything.
Dude, we
I don't
were
know if
half hour
that's
outside New York City. So like literally our GM partied with us Friday night. He'd open the gym. We'd go and get like a pump or whatever. And then I don't know if you remember Black Pearl, that VPX drink. It was like
yes,
an energy drink that was some sort of like what's it called? Got you horny. What's that called?
aphrodisiac.
Yes, it was
Yes, that's the one.
aphrodisiac. Yeah, that's how they
Black
sold it. So
Pearl,
the
huh?
boys would be like drinking Black Pearl with God knows what liquor, and then like doing lateral raises and curls and shit. And then we'd all go to the bars, And then somehow we ended up in New York City, and then we'd be at a club, and then everyone's like, we're going to the after hours club, and we'll go to like 5 a.m. And I'm like, how the fuck do you guys stay up till 5 a.m.? Find out real quick that there's this little nice pill that helps you stay awake. And I'm like, the last train, because it's before Uber, the last train back to Connecticut was 1 a.m. Nope, fuck that. We took the 9 a.m. train back home. Like, I'd have soccer the next morning, and I'm like, I can't see straight. Like, but this is so much fun. Like, it was so crazy. And I did not expect this from like fitness professionals. And this was every weekend. I was like, wow, New York City's dangerous. And we were so close. It was
All
so
right, so the
bad.
take home here is that kids nowadays don't party hard enough. They're
Yes.
too worried about
Yeah.
their wind down routines and melatonin and going to bed before 10 p.m. and their circadian rhythm. Obviously, this is the correct strategy here.
That's what you're
This
supposed
is-
to do when you're our age.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Gone are the days of NyQuil at noon to go to
Yeah,
bed.
shit.
Now my pills are melatonin and valerian extract. I'm like, oh yeah, baby. Give it to me.
We are bad. Silverback. Hello. Like, I came with a lot more Adderall than I left with. I don't know who took it, but it was gone. Everyone just
I
reached in
didn't.
my bag.
I didn't take
No.
any. I don't think. I got real drunk though. Oh man, I got real drunk at Silverback. You got real
got
drunk
me.
that one night.
3 drinks, 3 vodkas. Luke just kept giving to me, and I ended up riding a mechanical bull and fighting a Jedi with a dildo.
I saw the first one on Instagram. The second one, I don't know. Was there video for that? I don't think I saw that.
Oh man, the best is when you did the punching bag thing and you fell, and I think Cole or somebody had to catch you because you swung, hit it, and fell over.
It was really bad. But we're on 6th Street, which was like they shut the whole street down, and so we left the hotel at like 3 p.m. So it is like, I don't know, 8 p.m. And there's a guy dressed as like a Jedi fighting a dude with lightsabers. And there's a circle of people like watching. And I was like, Luke, give me the penis water gun. And I go in the circle and I start fighting the guy. And like everyone's filming it. And then some guy on Instagram's like, did I just see you fighting a Jedi with a dildo? And I was like, of course somebody recognized me. Like, what the hell? It was hilarious. And so, yeah, we got on video, and then Ed's like, we're using this for promotion for next year.
Right. Feels like a good time to promote your Instagram handle. So it's at the Ali Gilbert.
Yes.
In case you want to see. I feel like some context is helpful for the penis water gun microphone setup at Silverback.
Luke took it back to Australia, but I had brought it up on stage because last year they taped the lav mic to that so people could use it as a handheld. So I brought it, of course, this year so we would have it. It's a water gun. It's a good 6 inches. Like it's a big one. So Luke brought it out with us, and we were sitting at that one speakeasy, and the people were near the back door. And so people were leaving and exiting out the back door. And I was literally in their path, and I would put the gun down like this, and they would stop, and I'd be like, you may pass. And then I would keep putting the gun down. And they're like, what the fuck? I was doing all this weird shit because, of course, Luke gave me vodka. And then they carded us at every bar. I didn't have my wallet on me. So I'm like, bro, like I show him my abs. I'm like, I'm 42, blah, blah, blah. So I go in, I turn around, and the guy's patting down Luke, and then he feels in his backpack or his little satchel, and then he opens it up, and he's just like, and he just lets him in. I was like, I wish I got that on video. It was hilarious. Everybody checking in, like, why does this guy have this?
So you didn't have your ID, so you showed him your abs as a way to
I was like, yo, let me
verify. You're supposed to count the rings. Like, how do you figure out how old you are based on that?
You just like throw them off so much that they just let you in.
I guess fair enough. I suppose that works.
I want to clarify too. This penis thing is not 6 inches. It's like 10. So anyone who's ever had sex with Ali, if she said you had a huge penis, he's probably not as big as you think, because her idea of 6 inches is a bit skewed, because it's got to be almost double that. It's fucking massive.
And then I love how you posted a photo of it. Like the penis has made its way to Australia. And now you have to bring it back next year. It's got to make its way
It's
around.
safe.
That was a fun night. That was literally
Yeah.
the most fun I've had in a while because I never ridden a mechanical bull either. Let me tell you, adductor strength, because that thing is slippery as hell because I had leggings on and then you hold the rope really tight and like literally it's hard. That shit's hard. And I told him, I'm like, yo, rev it up. And I fell off.
Bring
You don't even
chalk
need
next
to
year.
you don't need to rev it up that much to get thrown off. We had a mechanical bull at our wedding. And
Wait,
so of
what?
course, yeah. So all right. So Zoe and I we were just gonna elope. Like we were just like, we don't want to spend all this money on a wedding. And then her mom was like, no, you have to have a wedding. I'm like, fuck. So then Zoe's planning it out. And yeah, so first it was like, we're gonna have a mechanical bull. Then we're gonna have a barbecue truck there, right? And then it was a magician, and then it just kept becoming like, and then so it was pretty nuts. But everybody expects me to be able to ride a bull. I'm like, man, I haven't ridden a bull since I was a kid. Like, so I get on the bull and I don't last long, and I rip my fucking wedding pants. So I'm walking around with a big fucking hole in my crotch all night. So I'm like, god damn it.
Nice.
I would have loved to see that. Did you get Mike T. Nelson on it?
I don't know if Mike got on it, but I think Jody and we had a bouncy castle, and I think Jody and I were in the bouncy castle, and I think we blew it up and it fell down or something. I can't remember. I was pretty drunk.
So the takeaway here is do as we say, not as we do. But
Right.
have fun.
Hey, you gotta work hard, play hard.
Yeah.
Health
I
hard,
feel like
health hard.
That was a
health hard.
memorable night. Like I think we
Yeah.
all got back at like 10 p.m. because we were there since 3. It was great.
Yeah,
And you were like, we
was
have to
great.
find Ali hip hop, and we're going like in every hip hop bar. And I'm like loving the music and also fascinated at like the dancing that people like. This girl was like twerking, like her hands are on the floor, her ass is in the air, and her friend was behind her wearing sunglasses, filming it. And I went up to her and I was like, excuse me, how do you do that? Like she's gonna show me or some shit. But I'm like, how? Like,
Allie,
ooh,
your ass is too hard and muscular to twerk, and it's not gonna happen.
shit. That's all
You
right.
need fat on your ass to twerk.
No, never mind.
Yeah.
I don't want to twerk.
You can't
Right.
twerk with a walnut ass.
You gotta be able to program for that somehow, right? There's like a machine for that somewhere?
The hip
Somewhere.
thrust, sort of, right?
Somewhere. Yeah, it's a
Pelvic
backwards hip
tilting.
thrust. You like go into a Smith machine, put the bar on your sacrum, and then like just ass up, ass down, ass up, ass down, like that.
But yo, that's
Used to-
like a legitimate comment right there, because that is literally also how training has changed. Because like when I was growing up, like people wore sweatshirts around their butt. Like we had to hide our soccer butt because that was not cool. It was like the aspirin ass of the 90s, like Kate Moss. Like that was what people's butts should have looked like. And now, like being in Florida, you see some weird shit in these gyms that like only the butt exercises are done. There's 5 hip thrust machines in my gym. Luke's been to it. Like there's literally anything butt related, a lot of butt stuff. A lot of butt stuff.
That's the
Yeah.
future of gyms right there. Is just
Future, yeah.
90% butt stuff.
Literally all they do. And remember like the assisted pull-up machine, that's not a pull-up machine. It's to push down with the leg to get the butt. That's the only thing they use it for.
You can turn anything into a butt machine if you try hard enough.
Yeah, pretty
You've
much.
seen the video of the guy who uses the fly machine to do like fucking scissors with his legs, that kind of thing.
God.
I'm surprised that's not in my
Hey.
program yet.
No, I don't program
Give it a
dumb
minute.
shit for you.
Just archer pull up.
It's weird because everybody's trying to find all these weird exercises. My ass, when it was the biggest, my ass was so big, it had its own zip code. And it was from powerlifting. It was box squats, man. When I box squats and having like building my squat to a 700-pound squat, my ass, I couldn't fit in any fucking pants. I'd have to buy pants I had a 34-inch waist. I had to wear size 38 pants and just cinch them up because my fucking quads and my ass were so big. My calves were so big, I couldn't get a pair of 33, 34 pants over my calves. But it's like, people are looking for all these weird exercises. Just get really fucking strong. In especially powerlifting movements. I've never seen a powerlifter with a small ass. At least not a good powerlifter.
Fair
you
enough.
know?
That's why Lululemon created their pants, because of the hockey players, for the hockey butt.
Yeah.
Jim Ferriss
And
and
that's
I
the thing.
call that the fast twitch ass.
That's I tell people, I'm like, like I told you that one time, I was like, let's get some rollerblades and use that as your cardio. And you're like, why? I'm like, look at hockey players. Google hockey butt.
Mhm.
And there's a whole fucking culture around worshiping hockey dudes' asses. I'm like, just do what they do. Go out and skate for your cardio and see what happens. And then you know what she did, Zach? I told her, go buy nice skates, nice rollerblades, spend some money. She buys some children fucking skates with like lights in the wheels. And then she's like, I can't do
Yes.
this. This sucks. And I'm like, you got to practice and go buy some actual, like, real rollerblades, not fucking Target, Walmart kid ones that light up. Like, it's like, you go get your steps and you buy some fucking wheelies.
Yeah, they hurt my
Hey,
feet. But
hey,
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with wheelies.
I want
No,
I
some
no,
remember
wheelies.
my kids had wheelies, and I used to enjoy watching them run into shit because they'd forget they had them on. Take one bad step and run into like a kitchen cabinet or something. I'm like, that's what
Did
you
you
get
ever?
for wearing shoes in my house.
So I grew up like doing the aggressive rollerblading, right? And I actually have a couple of pair of, I just need to go out and do it. But it just sucks because now you think about jumping on a rail. Like I took them to the skate park and I get in this they have like a tiny little beginner's bowl. And I'm like, it can't be more than a foot high. And I go up the side of them like, oh God, oh Jesus Christ. Oh fucking, because I'm so scared to fall now because it hurts when you're old to fall down and shit doesn't heal very quickly if you hurt something. But do you remember the shoes they used to have with the grind plate in the middle? Did you
Yes.
ever
What
have
were they?
those?
I never had them. What were they called?
I can't remember,
Oh
but I had a
God.
pair of those. Man, I want a pair of those again. Those were so much fun.
I don't know those.
I don't
Like
know.
you can just be walking and you just jump on a rail and slide down, and people are like, "What the fuck?"
They had
They'll make a comeback.
not a treadmill, that elliptical thing at my gym that was literally emulating skating. Remember
Yeah,
those? And then they took it
yeah.
Oh
away.
yeah.
It was so old. And I was like, Luke, look what they have. I can do this instead of rollerblading. And then it
No,
was
you
there.
just need a rollerblade. That's like putting the bar on your ass to learn how to twerk on a Smith machine. It's just twerk.
I know. I just, yeah, I'll do it. I do have nice rollerblades now. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
just got to do them.
Those shoes will come back. Everything old is new again.
Yeah.
So like
The 90s shit
I'm
is,
I'm ultra bitter about Crocs personally as a dad. I have a lot of misgivings about Crocs. I used to sell Crocs in a gift shop at the University of Iowa in college as one of my jobs. And the only people who bought them were hospital workers or people who were dying. And now there's like a Crocs store at the mall where they got like banners with like 15-year-olds like posing in like skater
Oh,
shots
ah.
with like Crocs with dragons on them and stuff. We were at Dairy Queen in the summer waiting in line for ice cream, and I counted the number of pairs of Crocs we saw in line, and I stopped at 30.
Well,
And nobody was over the age of 20. I saw a 4-year-old in Crocs.
I know a lot of people who wear Crocs and they're like, dude, just get a pair, man. They're so comfy. I'm like, I don't even wear shoes. Like I wear flip-flops or I wear nothing. Like I only wear shoes if I have to, which is not good right now because I've been working on my car doing a lot of fiberglassing. So I've got like fucking fiberglass splinters all on my feet, and I should probably wear shoes while I do that fabrication work.
See, my misgivings are that I've always threatened my kids that I would embrace every old man stereotype that exists when I crossed 40. I turned 40 in September, and for the longest time I was like, all right, bathrobe, no underwear, Crocs, black socks. Now I go to the fucking gym and every kid under 18 is wearing Crocs with fucking socks and those flannel pants. And I'm like, look, you basically took all of my old man ammunition away from me. So all I
It's
have
now
left is the
trendy.
bathrobe with no underpants. Like I'm gonna start showing up at the gym like that.
You're gonna wear that shit, and your kids are like, "My dad's so cool."
No kidding.
do you have a pair of
Like,
like those New Balance dad shoes?
no, but those are gonna be cool too.
There's a
Like the
kid
all
squatting in them the
white,
other day. Yeah,
the
the all white.
all white, like
They're like Nike shots.
tennis shoe. Yeah, like that shit is so in. And I just don't
Jorts are making
understand.
a comeback. I'm all about
I'm
the
waiting.
jorts.
I'm waiting for Jinkos to be the next thing to come back because that was
Oh,
my jam when I was like 16.
same. Same. You know what?
I
When
had
I was at my biggest in powerlifting, that's what I had to wear because the only thing that fit my fucking legs. I'd have to wear the Jinkos with the big fucking graffiti on the side of them.
right. See, I was not big. I was 109 pounds when I got my first pair of Jinkos. And so I bought it was a 27-inch waist and a 30-inch ankle.
Dude, you weighed less than me.
That's that's how little I was. I was 107 pounds the first day of freshman year of high school.
Aw,
5'7" and 107.
so
But that
cute.
was at a time when Jinkos and like FUBU basketball jerseys were cool. I
Tearaway
mean, they weren't
pants.
Fuck yeah.
cool. They weren't cool if you were white, but we lived in Iowa where it's only white people, so that's the only people who wore them. So I would go to school in Jinkos and a FUBU basketball jersey, and I had the John Connor Terminator 2 bowl cut with it parted down the middle.
Yes, same.
And then I had a chain wallet so that
Oh no.
you knew if I came into a room because between the swishing my pants made and then the sound of my chain wallet hitting the wooden chair of the desk at school, everyone was like, "Oh, Zach's here." Like that's how people knew. Or like, you guys ever shop at Gadzooks, the store in the
Oh
mall?
yeah.
You know what that
Fuck
is? So
yeah.
I
like
remember
they
that.
used to
Yeah.
sell the really like reflective dragon shirts and like stuff like that. Me and my older brother bought way too much shit from Gadzooks. And so I had a shirt that is like when you moved, the colors changed. It was, what is that called?
Mm.
Lenticular, whatever the hell it's called. So I was sitting in algebra. I was sitting behind my older brother who was in my same algebra class because he failed the first time around. So it's irrelevant to the story, but I want everybody listening to this to know that I had to sit behind him because he was cheating off me. And so the teacher made me sit behind him so he couldn't cheat off me. But anyway, so the girl sitting behind me while we're taking a test, she taps me on the shoulder and she's like, "Can you take your shirt off?" And I'm like, "Well, that's a weird proposition." She's like, "I'm gonna throw up from your shirt moving." She was getting motion sick from my
Oh my
shirt.
God.
So I actually had to go in the bathroom and turn it inside out so that she wouldn't vomit all over my back. So
Jesus.
I'm
I don't
waiting for
recall any of
those
that.
clothes to come back in style
I want
so I can
hypercolor
have
to
a
come back. That was cool.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
I have a closet full of this shit at my parents' house. I'm just gonna grab all of it. I'll still fit into it because the waists are so big on those pants. It'll be like nothing ever changed.
Yeah, I bet
You
that's
were
worth money.
you were
Could
100
be.
you were 109 pounds until just a few years ago when you finally got on TRT.
Basically,
So this
I
this
was
let me
when
this
go ahead.
motherfucker, I trained him for years and I'm like, bro, you don't sleep, you work too much, you have kids, your life's hectic, you are low in testosterone. I'm telling you, just go get your hormones checked. He's like, no, no, no. I'm like, go get your hormones checked. Go get your hormones checked. He finally does. And you want to tell her the story what happened there? Holy fuck.
About me getting jacked or about me losing my memory? Which one?
About you getting brain
Both.
damage.
Oh yeah. So
I
This is a
remember that.
TRT horror story.
yeah, so this is why you don't get pellets for TRT. We had my test taken 3 months after a show, and my total test was 199, which if you don't know what the range is for testosterone, it's supposed to be much higher than 199. Although
368 now, I think. I can't remember.
Although the fascinating thing, when I had my testosterone check when I was 22, and it was only 400. And I
Mm.
found out, like, actually, Stan Efferding brought this up at Swiss and at Silverback. I had a varicocele that wasn't fixed until I was like 31, and which basically probably is the reason why I make no testosterone. So I basically would have to be on TRT no matter what. But yeah, so I trainer colleague in Chicago convinced me to try pellets. He's like, it's super easy. You get them done once every like 4 months. You don't have to give yourself a shot. He's like, and it's, you know, you just don't squat for a couple of days so they don't blow out the incision. So I met with this guy and he's like, all right, your test is low. We'll do pellets. He's like, and your vitamin D is low. So let's just increase your vitamin D to like 20,000 IUs a day. I'm like, all right, cool. So I go meet with the guy. We do the pellets. And then I'm like on my side and he's like, all right. And then he walks over to the table and he picks up a syringe. And he just walks over to the table and he picks my shirt up and he just doesn't say what he's doing. He just sticks me right in subcutaneous, like just fucking sticks me and then pushes stuff in. And I'm like, he's like, oh, that's your vitamin D. And then I woke up in the ICU like 2 days later. Literally the last thing I remember. So what we think is that from him not telling me that he was giving me the D unexpected,
Hey.
that I probably when I freaked out so much, and probably when I got up off the table, I had a vasovagal response. And so my BP probably dropped. And the doctors think, because I broke my temporal bone in my head and a dual brain bleed, and like 36 hours or more of memory loss that came out of it. So they think that I had to have hit the table on the way down. You know, like when you go to a hospital, they have the thing with the stirrups, and then like at the base of it, there's like that little tiny step you jump up on. They think that I probably hit my head on that before I hit the floor, because they're like, there's no other way to break that fucking bone. So that was my first experience with TRT, was I got that done. And that's why Luke and Zoe came to Chicago for what, 3 months?
Something
To
like
help
that, yeah.
Christine run the gym, because I was so fucking incapacitated. I did like 8 weeks or 10 weeks of speech and occupational therapy after my memory is still like, to this day, I still have like a huge blind spot, because apparently there's some details I won't divulge, because there was some legal stuff that happened after all this. But apparently when I got home, I started projectile vomiting and all this other stuff. And I have zero memory of like any of it. And like Christine taking me to the ER and like them having to hide me in a room because the ambient noise of like machines beeping and stuff, I guess, was making me freak out and all this other shit. But yeah, so that was fucking terrible. But like I used to be able to, my memory recall was like fantastic. I went through college with one notebook. I had a 5-subject notebook for 4 years of college. I never had to write anything down. I could watch someone, like I could watch a lecture with PowerPoint, never need the PowerPoints. I could just recall it. And then after the head injury, shit's just gone. So it took me like almost 12 months to figure out how to function without that level of memory, because I had to learn how to take notes. And it was always weird telling people it's really hard to have to take notes, because everybody's like, I don't fucking understand what the problem is. But when like literally you're like, I did my algebra 2 and pre-calc classes in high school with no notebooks. Like my teachers are like, I'd sit in the front row and he'd be writing a problem on the board and I'd solve it when he's like halfway through, and he's like, where did you write it down? I'm like, I didn't. He's like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, I don't know. Like, it was this cool skill I used to have. And it wasn't like a photographic memory. I'm not that, like some people have like actual photographic memories. It wasn't that. I just had a really good memory, and then it would disappear. So now I have fucking note pages, and all like my desk is covered in like this kind of shit.
Now you have ADD.
I just.
Yeah.
So I have to write. So it was weird because it took me forever to figure out how to function with that. But yeah, that was my first experience with TRT. And then for some reason, I kept doing pellets for another like 2 years. I switched doctors.
Good.
Because obviously I didn't want to go back to that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, then eventually I remember he started dosing my TRT without checking my blood work first. And we're like, this is probably a bad idea. Now, like, granted, if you're a guy and someone is giving you too much testosterone, usually your first instinct is not, hey, maybe we should stop this. But it was more the crash. Like, I would get a crash coming off of it. You know, the first, like, with pellets, it peaks so fast. The first, like, 3 weeks, Christy's like, don't even come near me. Because, like, seriously. You know, but then after that, it's like you've been neutered, you know, for until your next dose. It comes out so hard. It's like, this sucks. So then eventually I switched to the more conventional TRT mechanisms. But
That's good.
yeah.
See, kids, pellets are trash.
Well, and they're expensive.
That's why doctors push them.
I remember one of our clients, when I had talked to him about me being on TRT, because it was one of the, you know, he was a chiropractor and he was really worried about people's perception of him being on TRT. So he was always afraid of asking. So he found out, I told him that I was on it. So he asked, he's like, well, where do you go? So he wanted to do it, but he did his pellets in the morning, and then he didn't listen to how you're not supposed to work out for like 2 days because the incision needs to close. So he comes into our gym and he's squatting and he stops and he like literally lets the bar fall off his back. And I'm like, dude, what was that? Like, it wasn't even like a hard weight. He's like, I think a pellet just shot out.
Oh no. Oh
so,
my God.
you know, like when people lose a contact, you get on the ground and you're looking for it. He and I are in the gym and we're both on the ground looking for the pellet. And I don't even know why. So I'm like, what are we going to do? Put it back in? Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, this is a sunk cost at this point. But yes, that is one of the negatives, is that you have to let the wound heal before you can like squat. And he didn't do that.
Yeah.
Yes. So food pellets.
I tell you, really weird, really quick, weird story about kind of that savant type thing. We have a client, Zoe came home and she told me that she was talking to like a couple that trains at our gym. Apparently he had brain surgery for some reason. I can't remember what it was, but he said for about 24 hours after he had brain surgery, he was like a human calculator. So he doesn't know what happened, but whatever they did when he was recovering in the hospital, they would say like, what's 1,472 times 5,671? And he would see the number and he would say it and it was correct. And he said he went to sleep, he woke up and it went away.
Oh shit.
Oh my God. Imagine having like that. I wish there was something that they could just poke your brain and then all of a sudden you have one of those.
Oh,
Like,
how cool would that be?
What is that? Was that
Charles
Bradley Cooper movie where that dude could do that? Was it Limitless? You guys heard that movie?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that shit. Take a pill,
You know,
and then
Charles Poliquin had a photographic memory. It was fucking crazy. Like we would be, and you've seen him lecture before. He'd stand there and he'd be like, he just talk about a random study. Somebody asked him a question, he'd be like, so and so et al. In 1973, and he'd say all the figures, and we're like, he's so full of shit. And you'd look it up, and every single number, fact, everything he said about that study, and you're like, what the fuck? And he would talk about like 10 studies a class and know every single detail about those. I've never seen anything like it. Now, I've got a pretty fucking good memory, but his shit was next level.
You know who I don't think was at that level, but I saw Louis Simmons at Mark Bell's super training in California because Louis flew out to do a 3-day clinic. And people are asking him questions about guys he's training. He's like, oh, well, Chuck Vogelpohl at the fucking 1998 so-and-so, and it was in Columbus, and we stayed at this hotel, and Chuck warmed up with 770, but then for his first, he took 880, but he got 1 white light and 2 reds, so then he went up 50 kilos, and like, it just the shit that it was like way too specific, but then Mark's like, yeah, that's fucking right. But it's only about like his lifters, and he could like tell you who set the record at what meet and who is in what order and who is spotting and who bombed out, and like just the craziest shit. And I'm like,
yeah,
holy fuck, it's insane. And just to listen, so just like with Charles, to listen, I'm like, just rattle it off like it's nothing. I remember watching Charles. What I thought Charles was like looking for something in a book, because he was just like turning pages like this.
Speed
And
reading.
then,
He could speed
yeah, he
read.
was reading. I was
He
like, I thought you were
basically,
looking for a note.
yeah, he'd basically look at a page for a couple of seconds, turn the page, and he would keep doing that. And I'm like, he's bullshitting. And he could tell you what was on those pages. It was fucking insane.
I feel like you're like that sometimes, Luke.
I've gotten that way, but not to that level. Not that, like, I've got fucking ridiculous active recall. Like, I can tell you where all of my clients are, all their numbers, all this shit. I can tell you what they weigh, what they've weighed in the last week, what they've lifted, what their best lifts have been ever. And, but I think that's just, 20 something years of experience and actually giving a shit what your clients can do and prioritizing what's important.
And drugs.
And drugs.
And drugs. Yeah.
I mean,
drugs help.
but like
Brain
ADD drugs, not like
brain drugs.
not
I
like
mean,
the
that's part
hard
of,
stuff.
I mean, I think that's part of the, like, as much of a pain in the ass that ADD is, that's, I guess, part of the gift of it as well, as having just stupid memory and active recall, especially for facts and figures and all that. Because yeah, I can pull up stuff from 10 years ago and tell stories, and people go, there's no way. And then you talk to somebody else and like, no, that's exactly how it happened. But the only problem with having the severity of ADD I have is my life is a complete wreck everywhere else. Um, and if I get obsessed about something, I can't, or if I get a problem, I can't let it go until it's solved. So I will fuck off everything else while I work on this problem, where I do something. That's the part of the problem. But that's where the medication really helps me to not get overly OCD and obsessed about shit. But
I think my youngest son Ryland's gonna be like that. He put, like I said, he put this fucking Black Panther thing together behind me. He probably did 80% of it. But there's things where you would do the same step multiple times, and he'd go through the
yeah,
book for the first one, and then he would just do the third and fourth one without looking at the pages. And like, this thing is for like 18-year-olds. And they tested his IQ. He was like 136 at 10.
fuck yeah.
But he also has like the ADD, ADHD kind of stuff where it's like he
Yeah.
also, once he's in it, it's like you can't even
You can't break him out of it.
you could set a fire alarm off and he
Yeah.
doesn't even realize that something has happened. It's crazy.
It sucks. It's like a dog with a bone. Like, you can't get it out of their mouth and they'll run with it, and you just get super hyper focused and obsessed about shit. But really good for what we do for a living. But without Zoe, I'd be an absolute disaster everywhere else in my life. No bills would get paid. Car wouldn't go in for a fucking oil
Right.
change. Like,
Oh
I've
my
had
God.
I've had two cars blow up on me just because I didn't do the maintenance on it, because I just fucking forgot. It's it's funny. She'll go, if I run out of my ADD medication, she'll know within about a week and a half, 2 weeks. She's like, when was your last Vyvanse? I'm like, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. Why didn't you get more? I'm like, because I ran out of my ADD drug, so it kind of got sidelined. She goes, because here, what sucks about Australia is they'll only give you a prescription for 6 months, and then you have to go back to the doctor, because for some reason they think this is like a curable fucking disorder. So every time I go to the doctor, I have to beg and plead with them to redo my prescription. So then I'll run out and I'll forget to go to the doctor, and a month later she's like, okay, you haven't been medicated, because my behavior and my impulse shit changes, and I start doing wild ass crazy shit. Because normally she gets, if I'm medicated, I've got about 12 or 13 hours where I'm normal for me. And then outside of that, I become ADD Luke, which means I do crazy shit. So she can tell, like, she can tell it at night when my medication runs out. She can tell when I haven't taken it for a couple of weeks. So I have to stay. Like, my life is a fucking disaster if I don't stay on my drugs.
There's like
My
an
drug.
irony to the medication you need to remember to take the medication. And
Yeah.
then when that medication runs out.
Dude.
Yeah. If I
Charlie says
let it
the same
run
thing.
out, I'm fucked, because I won't remember.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse. Charlie says to me, he's like, how did you live alone for so long? Like, how did you not get kicked out? How do you know how to pay bills? I'm like, I don't know. It just happened. Like, weren't you late all the time? I'm like, yeah, probably. Like,
Yeah, I was for sure.
awful.
Yeah.
Nothing is organized. Like, he'll ask me, where is this? I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. How do you not remember? I'm like, because I don't remember. Like, I can't answer that question when people ask, like, how do you forget that? I'm like, I just do.
Yeah.
You
Was the thing,
can't
and
recall.
I've gone through these periods where I'm like, I don't think I need it. I think I can manage this on my own. And I look back at like the years I was on Vyvanse or on medication versus not. I'm like, oh man, those years were fucked. Like I was always late on my bills. Um, my credit score was in the shitter. Now it's amazing because I've stayed on my medication for the last few years. But it's like, yeah, it's and Ali, you and I've talked about this, like all these coaches who think they have ADD right now. No, you're just addicted to social media. Trust me. If you had ADD, you it wouldn't be something you'd brag about and be like, "Oh, I'm an ADD kid. I'm having an ADD moment." That's having an ADD moment is not fun. It's not
No,
it's not something to really laugh about.
it isn't. It sucks. Like
No.
they have a shortage of Adderall in the US right now. And like there's I don't know if I'm gonna get it. And I try to go days without it. And I'm like, I could do this. I could do this. What am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. And then it's like you can focus like when Luke goes off on social and I'm like the ADD drugs kicked in because it's like this
You
Mm.
actually
super
sent me a
hyper
message
focus.
you sent me a message the other day. You're like, "Oh, he's getting a lot of shit done. He's on his tasks. He must have just taken a shit." So, um,
So is that how I can tell if you're off if I send you a message and it goes unanswered for like 11 months?
yeah.
Yes.
So, and that's
Yeah.
usually
Okay.
what happens when people send me, like you guys, when you send me stuff. It might be at night when it's run out, and then it gets buried. And so then I have to wait until I actually look at all my unread messages, and I'm like, "Oh fuck, I should probably get back to this person." Oh, sorry for the late reply for 2 months ago. Yeah,
You know,
I'll
it's
tell you,
probably something gross I'm sending you anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
probably. I'll tell you guys a good story, a good ADD story. So before I got on Vyvanse, I was going through like the merry-go-round of different drugs. So I hated Ritalin, didn't like Adderall, tried Concerta because it's
Mm.
basically time-released Ritalin. That was okay. But I remember I was having the Ritalin, like Vyvanse doesn't affect my sleep, but Adderall and Ritalin did. So when I got on Concerta, I was on such a high dose because I had a sales job and I was on such a high dose that it was fucking with my sleep. So the doctor gave me Ambien. So I remember one day I'd taken my Concerta, my second dose of it, which you're not really supposed to take two doses of it, but sometimes I even have to take two doses of Vyvanse, but because they won't give me enough here. But I remember I took my Ambien and I went to bed and started to fall asleep, but then I woke up. And if you've ever taken Ambien before, if you stay awake on it, you hallucinate and you have amnesia. So apparently, I woke up and ate a bunch more Concerta, like a handful of Concerta and a handful of Ambien, and went like completely mental. Like my girlfriend at the time found me like walking around the middle of the street in my underwear looking for my car keys and was like, no, no,
Oh
no, come
shit.
come get inside. Yeah. And then the next day I had to have somebody come watch me because I was hallucinating all day. Like it was
Oh
fucking
my God.
that. And that's when I was like, fuck this. And I like flushed all the Ambien and was like, I'm not taking the Concerta either. So I got off of it. And then they brought out Vyvanse. I'm like, okay, this is the one. Like that's the one that works for me. And I've been on it since it came out, I think in 2012. And the problem here, again, they think that, like, I don't know why I have to go back and talk to a doctor to get a prescription of something I've been on for 11 years. But the last doctor I talked to, she was like, how long have you been on this? And I'm like, since it came out. She goes, when did it come out? I go, 2012. 2012, you've been on it that long? I'm like, yeah, this isn't like gonna go away. So can I just have my fucking medication? So my life's not a fucking disaster. My wife doesn't divorce me.
I don't have
Did
any son.
did Concerta fuck your appetite up?
Um, yeah, that's why I didn't like Ritalin. Like Vyvanse doesn't fuck my appetite, but Adderall and Ritalin did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we
just
we
too
had
harsh.
we had some stuff with that where like our oldest was on Ritalin and Concerta, and it'd be like we'd have to feed him so much in the morning before it kicked in, because then
Yeah.
he just wouldn't eat until like 11 o'clock at night, and then you've got like a 12-year-old in the kitchen at 11 o'clock at night baking chicken nuggets in the oven, and I'm like, all right, man.
Nah.
One, I'd like to go to bed, so can we not do that? But also, maybe this is not working. I'll go with the theme of ADD in this circle, I feel like is very high. This is
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
clearly that's what you need to have to roll in this. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that.
I think it does help. I couldn't do
I think so.
Vyvanse. I tried it. It didn't work.
Yeah, works
So,
beautifully for me. So that, and especially I have to take a lot, but the thing is the max dose is 70 milligrams here. So, and there's no way to be progressive. If I was in the States, there are some doctors I could go to and get a much higher dose, but here I can't. So I have to take a bunch of other stimulants to calm myself down. And that's the kicker with having ADD. You have this paradoxical effect with stimulants. So stimulants actually calm you down. They don't make you all like crazy. Like if I was still in my 20s and we were out partying, if I do coke or meth or anything like that, it actually has a calming effect on me while everybody's losing their mind. So I never understood, for a long time I didn't understand why people were losing their fucking minds on this stuff and how they had so much energy. I'm like, it just makes me feel normal. So weird.
mhm.
And then I'd have to do like a heroic dose of stuff to feel what normal people feel on this stuff.
It had to be fascinating to watch everybody that ass backwards response to stuff like that. That's somewhat terrifying. You're like sitting at a bar drinking coffee and doing Sudoku after having just done a bump or something, and that I like the imagery that has. Got like a sweater on and you got eyeglasses and
A
this is a
cardigan.
great and then just doing a line off the bar and then go back to your Sudoku. I think this is
Dude, I took a nap in somebody's
fascinating
car
visual.
after, like, everyone went to the diner after they're all yacked up, and I'm like, I'm gonna go nap in the car. And they're like, how do you nap after that type of night? I'm like, I don't know, I'm tired. And it was
Well,
like 20 degrees.
I took a second dose of Vyvanse yesterday at 4 p.m. and still went to bed no problem. Like went to sleep. The only reason I did stay up too late because this book I'm reading was getting really good and I couldn't stop reading the book. But like who the fuck takes Vyvanse at 4 or 5 o'clock at night and still
Yeah,
go to bed at midnight?
that's crazy.
No kidding. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or you're just that jacked up or both.
something like that. Yeah.
Okay. God, where are we? We wandered
Can we take
fairly
a
far
can we
to
take a
the
pee?
right.
Can we take a pee break?
Yes, we can take a pee break. I'll
All
kill
right,
the recording here for a second.
okay.
You good?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. Where the fuck did we even leave off? What were we talking about before we wandered so aggressively? I know we
I don't
started
know.
with TRT. I don't know. Some shit
We
happened.
should probably get back to. We should probably get to
I
the
suppose
actual
let's
talk
get a
about.
little bit of actual. I'm curious who's gonna watch this thing all the way through. I'm gonna have to like date stamp or time stamp a bunch of the
Yeah,
bottom.
you got a
Make it a
timestamp.
little bit easier to
People will
tramp
find
stamp
it
it.
entertaining, maybe.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I think
Like
so.
Dave Tate's, they go 4 hours and
Yeah. Oh yeah, I just use Dave Tate's podcast as a way to get to and from work.
yeah.
It's like a 50-minute drive. I'm like, all right, I can get through half of like a Christian Thibodeau podcast in a day this way.
Bedros was on there and I knocked that one out in a day. That was actually
Really?
really good. It was
I haven't
good.
listened to his yet. I'm still a couple behind. I'm trying to grow up and start listening to podcasts.
Trying to
Can't
grow up.
listen to podcasts.
Trying. Instead of just fucking listening to metal at 4 o'clock in the morning when I drive to work. Christine's driven with me to work at 4 in the morning. She's like, "What the fuck are you listening to?" I'm like, "It's fine. It's like Metallica and Killswitch Engage and whatever." She's like, "It's 4:15." I'm like, "Yeah. What's
Get you
your
up.
point? What's your
Coffee
point?"
Metallica. Yeah.
Yes. I go fuck some people up at the gym. It's my pre-workout for coaching. All right. Let's circle back. Let's circle the wagons a little bit. So the whole idea here was to give some advice to trainers.
Do
Let's
drugs.
We did.
Right. So basically do drugs, do TRT. ADD makes you a really good trainer.
medicated.
Don't call yourself a strength coach, call yourself a trainer. Do your job. What else? What other lessons have we taken from
Ambien
here?
makes you hallucinate. So if you need like a cheap hallucinogen, you just won't
There we
remember
go.
it.
There we go. What I'm curious with you guys' stance on this. Have you guys ever fired clients before?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
What would it
Because
take to make you fire a client?
they annoy me. So for me, I don't like to do it. I like to give people as much opportunity as possible, but there becomes a point where if their lack of doing their shit starts to have an emotional and mental and psychological effect on me, then they got to go. So,
Yeah.
I will. I've got a 3-strike policy in place. Very rarely have to use it, but if it's like if I have to tell you more than 3 times, I'm gonna start thinking about firing you. But I haven't
Yeah.
had to do it in a long time because here's the thing too. Like if somebody's not gonna do their shit, if they say I want to do this and they're not gonna do their shit, at the end of the day, it's my job to write the program, coach you through it, tell you what to do. It's your job to do it. If you're not going to do it, I care, but I don't care enough to try to parent you. And I tell all my clients that, like, I'm not here to daddy you. If you're an adult, do what you say you're going to do. If you don't want to do it and you're happy to pay, I'm fine with that. But I'm going to get really disinterested because I'm so performance focused. If you're not doing better, I'm going to probably like start not being very interested in doing what we're doing. And usually they'll just fall off after that. But I'll almost only do that if they're complaining. So if I'm coaching you through this and you say you're going to do this and you don't do it and you understand that you are the reason why you're not getting results, then I'm happy to keep training that person because I'm hoping eventually it's going to click and they're going to get better. But if they start complaining that they're not getting results because they're not actually doing what I told them to do, that's when I'm going to be like, you know what, fuck off. I'll let you pay until you just finally get bored of me or frustrated and just leave. And I
Yeah.
know that's terrible. It's a terrible thing to say, but um, I reckon probably 90% of the time, maybe 95% of the time, the person turns themselves around after I, have a chat or yell at them enough times. There's a 10% of them don't, and they just naturally fall off. So I don't actually have to have that uncomfortable conversation and fire them. But I'm
Yeah.
gonna give them every chance I can.
Yeah. Ali,
That
what do you think?
that's pretty true. Like when I was in person, I would have to fire creepy dudes, but you don't have that really so much in the online coaching space now.
Yeah.
But now it's like similar to like what Luke said, because it is strange that there are people who will pay for coaching and then they just go like MIA.
Yeah.
And it's bizarre because like it obviously to rein them in, that's part of our job to like steer the ship. And you have that very hard discussion with them, and either they will turn around or like Luke said, they'll fall off. But like sometimes like there's people who they do half-ass, they never log, they've never uploaded like a video or whatever. And then all of a sudden they decide they want to start trying.
Yeah.
We as the coach have to like remember we're coaching them in a sense, because it's like, oh, you're actually doing your shit now. I have to actually execute like and do and look at all this stuff, because you like almost forget you're coaching them in a sense because they never did anything and now they're like back in
Yeah.
play,
Yeah.
and it becomes a better relationship. But we've rarely had to fire people unless they've really been I'm trying to think of like a specific person where it's almost like they've contested everything to the point where it's like, why did you even bother? Almost we've had a couple of that where we've provided a very good explanation as to why we're doing what we're doing, and for them it just wasn't what they wanted to do. And
Yeah.
okay, you could have said that, but also like we can find a different direction to go and provide you with what you want. But Yeah, it's rare now because I think maturity helps and be better able to navigate those situations. Because like when I was younger, it was like if you're not doing your shit, fuck you. Like it's all your
Mm.
fault. And then it's like, oh well, yeah, I have to take responsibility. What am I not doing enough of that's not allowing this person to show up the way they want? When you reflect on, can I do anything more? Or is there any other way? Like sometimes you literally are doing everything you possibly can, aside from showing up at that person's house, taking them to the gym, feeding them, and all of that stuff. So I don't
Yeah.
know if I actually answered the
Yeah.
question, but yeah.
No, I think so. And I think this is one of those things that we have a lot of at our gym because most of my stuff is in person still. So like you guys primarily are online. Luke, I don't know how much actual in person you do anymore at IOPC.
Yeah. So 2022, we had a couple of coaches leave, and I was trying to get out of online coaching, and so I was down to like 5 people, and I was happy there. I'm like, I'm gonna train the 5 people that I really want to train that aren't a pain in the ass to do their shit, and then if anybody wants to come on, I'm gonna have like an application process and go, okay, I'm only gonna train you if I actually want to do it. So like I'm not just gonna take everybody. And then I got like 40 clients dumped on me. So all of
Yeah.
22 from like mid to late January, maybe early February 2022 until February 2023, I was trying to untangle this fucking mess that these coaches left me because they weren't doing anything that we were supposed to do as standard policy for coaches. They were supposed to be writing detailed notes of why they changed things, when they changed things, what was said, um, like injuries, what their periodization was, so that if something like this happened, me or someone else could pick up and just go with it. So I had people that we had been training for 3 or 4 years. I had to go back through all of their programs from 3 to 4 years. I had to handwrite every phase they did and calculate percentages and try to figure out what they were doing so I could figure out what was working and what wasn't and redo it. So I was killed myself for over a year trying to sort this shit out. It was a fucking nightmare, man. It was a nightmare. And there were a lot of clients there that was like, okay, these guys are real turds, and they ended up falling off. So I was happy to lose some of them. But again, I was doing my best trying to maintain this, and it was just some of them left because I was just dropping balls everywhere because I couldn't fucking keep up with it all. So
Yeah.
I stopped going to our gym, stopped all in-person and group training and just concentrated on this. And now that and during that time too, I developed the hypertension course, recorded the hypertension course, developed a methods course, gave the course 3 or 4 times, had program design courses. Like I was still doing all the muscle nerd shit too. Um, and so now that is, I'm fairly level. I'm training maybe like a couple of dozen people, and everything's starting to smooth out, and the travel's done for a bit. Now I'm starting to go back to the gym, and I'm starting to train, probably not one-on-one training, but I'll start helping with group training and just show up and start helping out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Um,
worried about you during that time. I would tell Zoe, I'm like, I'm booking a mentorship call, but I'm not going to show up. Make him sleep or rest.
And then I'd get so fucking mad. I'm like, what do you fucking do? And like, stop doing that shit. So yeah, and I was doing mentorships, and yeah, I was fucking nuts. But you do what you have to do. You got businesses to run, man. You do what you have to
yeah.
do. Like, and that's the thing. Like, that's what people need to understand about like owning a business, especially multiple businesses and having staff. Like, if staff drops off or something happens, like you don't have a fucking choice. Like, I don't have a choice not to show up, because if I
Mhm.
don't show up, we don't get money. If we don't get money, we lose everything. Like, there's way too much risk involved. And I've told people in class, you guys have heard me talk about this in classes. If I could do it again, I probably would go back to working for somebody else. I'd probably work for Ali or something. I'd be one of her coaches. Like, it's so much easier to just take a paycheck and not have to deal with accountants and bookkeepers and lawyers and all that. And I don't even deal with that. Zoe takes care of all that. But that doesn't mean that I don't constantly think about that stuff, because even if like that's why Zoe and I make a great team, because I do all the technical stuff and the dick jokes, and I do the podcast, and I do all that, like all the grunt work. I'm working in the business. She works on the business. She's so much more organized and numbers focused. She's so much better than I am at that. There's no way I could do this by myself. No fucking way. And if you have something that happens that's disastrous, you don't have a fucking choice not to show up. So it would be so much easier to have, like you said, a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., go to the gym, just train people and go home. Like, I don't think people understand how hard business is. And just because you're a good coach doesn't mean you're going to be good at business. I'm not good at business. Zoe is, or she's getting there. Like, when we started our business, we had no idea what the fuck we were doing. So we've spent the last decade just trying to understand this. And first it was understanding the online stuff. And then we bought a gym. So it's like, wow, okay, this is way different than online. Having a brick and mortar there's a lot more shit that has to be done. And it lives on money. Like, you constantly hemorrhaging money to keep a gym open. Zach, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the gym always wants some money.
Little stuff, a leak in the roof, a treadmill goes out, service guy comes out, there's $1,500 to service. It's the little stuff. So it's sometimes running the financial side is like, we've got staff, where, especially in the past, like, I'm not going to single out any of my current staff because they're actually all really good, but we've had staff that look and they're like, well, I've seen all these new people coming in, I want to raise, where's the money? I'm like, well, let's see. We had more people coming in, so I actually had to hire an extra person to cover them. So there's, an entire salary that's now being covered. Let's see, we did a renovation of the gym. There's $15,000. Our rent goes up 3 to 5%. Our fucking electric is whatever they decide they want to charge us. Our software stuff is like, okay, our CRM stuff doubled in 1 month. So, the customer service platform that we use is like, oh, they're just like, send us a thing. You're like, oh, effective in 30 days, your stuff doubles. So it's like all these other things is like, so what you think is just, I had a coach that left, fortunately on his terms, because it was going to be not on his terms after much longer, where he basically accused me and Christine of stealing from him, like actually words coming out of his mouth, of stealing food off of his plate because he was only making a salary with benefits and medical and dental and vision and PTO. Having all of his clients generated for him, he literally came in, took the workouts that I had written, because we run a group system, came in, worked 8 hours, and then went home. Meanwhile, with all the other stuff, me and Christine are working, 45 hours, 50 hours in the gym, another 20 hours at home, and then wondering, like, where does that money go? And then when the expenses go up, it's like, well, shit, we cut from us first before we cut. Like, we don't cut coaches'
100%.
salaries.
Yeah.
We don't take from them, because like Luke said, with business ownership comes the risk. So it's like, when things are good, it's like, when it's good, you credit your staff. When it's bad, you take the hit. And it's like, new trainers getting into training don't know how the business side works. And so they're skipping so many steps because they're like, well, I could open my own place. And it's like, well, you don't even know could you even get a loan?
Good luck.
Know how to write a business plan. I was lucky, I had a business degree. My senior year, I had to write a business plan. My professor was actually a loan officer for the bank. So he was like what do they call that? Adjunct professor or whatever. Like, he didn't work for the university. He just taught a class. So he taught you how to write a business plan, and your final was you went to the bank in a suit and sat in his office and pitched him your business. My business was opening a commercial gym. He's like, I had 85 people. I was the only one he actually gave a loan to. But so when we ended up opening our gym, it was not that it was already done, but it was like, at least I've seen this shit. And I know just equipping a fucking gym is like a $250,000 endeavor at a minimum, even for like a small space. But people don't see, the fact that, our staff pays taxes. Well, that means the owner is paying taxes too on top of all that stuff. Like I said, fucking electric, water, parking, like whatever. It's like all the stuff that they don't even see. And then they're going to skip straight to online training. So not only do they not know how to run a business, and they've never trained anybody in person,
Uh,
but they're going to
Yeah.
coach from a computer in Bali on the beach and make
What?
7 figures
And the thing, look, the
their
thing is too,
first
like,
fucking year.
what drives me nuts, like we treat our staff like we try to go above and beyond. And the one of the biggest mistakes we made, again, business mistakes, we didn't know what we were doing. We gave them too much stuff without them earning it. And that created a sense of entitlement where we give bonuses, we give raises, we were like getting Airbnbs for them so they could go have a holiday because they wouldn't do it themselves. Like we were doing all this shit, letting them, like, giving them our extra car to use for a while, then selling it to them really cheap. And like we thought, the better we treat our employees, the more loyal they're going to be. Nah, they don't give a fuck, because when COVID hit and like the money dried up, Zoe and I took the hit. We cut our pay back to basically minimum wage, so that we didn't have to take from any of our employees. But then we were like, look, guys, all the perks are gone. Like we can't give you the extra stuff on this. We've got to weather the storm. Let's just all get through this together. And that created this discontent, and they ended up fucking us. So now I make everybody earn everything. But I think they need to understand too, if you work for someone like us that really values your staff and will go above and beyond, we'd love to be able to pay you so much more. We'd love to be able to triple your salary, but we have to have that money coming in, right?
Right.
So it's like, I'd love to be able to pay somebody $250,000 a year if I could. And I would, because like my staff works really fucking hard, but we have to have that, like something has to pay for that. Right. And they don't get it,
Yeah. Like I said, I think, if you're a trainer, I think you should be taking fucking business courses to
Yeah.
learn how it actually works. Because even if you're just being a freelance trainer in a Gold's Gym, like if you're collecting money and you're paying overhead and you're paying your own insurance or whatever, you should still know what the fuck you still have to run your own business.
Yeah.
So like a lot of people just look at like, well, but I'm a trainer at Gold's. It's like, no, you go to Gold's to train people. You're not employed by them. You
Yeah.
don't have any security. You don't know how to grow your shit. Like you don't know how to go from here to there, because you're just hoping that Golds will do it for you. It's like, but they don't owe you anything. They literally said, you
When,
can have our equipment and our members.
yeah, you can pay for the, entitlement to use our equipment to train
Right.
your clients
It's like
until we
renting a
get,
car.
yeah, until we don't like, yeah, when you rent or even buying a car, like you buy a car, if you get a loan, you don't own that car. The bank owns that car until
Right.
you finally pay the rest of the car off. So, there was something I was going to say on that, that I just got sidetracked. But well, now, what I was going to say is, right now, like when people take in our industry, people are taking business from people who were failed personal trainers. Like I know a few really good fitness business coaches, but the vast majority of them weren't good coaches, never had a business, and started basically ripping off other people's courses and teaching business, right? Christopher and people like that. I'm not going to name any names, but
No.
the thing is, most of those business courses aren't teaching business, they're teaching marketing. And what people are learning how to market before they actually have a good product. Guys are getting their training certification going straight to online when they've never trained anybody in person. Like you have no craft. You don't have something to sell people. You're basically like somebody working for you is going to take your programs and try to train people off those programs, but they don't understand why those programs are written, how to modify the programs, how to scale the programs, how to sequence the programs, right? So you need to, that's why I still do the education. I don't teach business, right? If I was going to teach business, and Zoe and I said we won't teach business until we actually are confident that our expertise in business is as good as our expertise in biochemistry and biology and programming and all that, which means maybe in another 5 or 6 years we will. But people are learning the marketing before they actually have anything to sell anybody. And they don't know how to run a business. If you're going to take business classes, the first thing I would do is learn from somebody outside of the industry, like Ali with
Mhm.
Bedros. Like, he go to somebody who has multiple businesses and different things, who can actually teach you how taxes work, how to do your books, how to find a lawyer, how to find an accountant, all that stuff, and learn your craft, then learn how to market. Like, if you look at our social media, it's terrible. Like, we're hardly out there. We've grown a 7-figure business and a couple of 6-figure businesses just by knowing what we're talking about, doing good work, because our marketing is shockingly bad.
Yeah.
Just do really good, like, do good work.
Well, and that's where like for me, the concept of like new trainers firing people drives me up a fucking wall.
Yeah.
Uh like, and I think it's different too, depending on your niche. Like if you're a very performance sort of place, you know, like especially with online stuff, if you have like a high ticket sort of program, you expect a very significant type of result, because that's not something that someone who just wants to get in shape is going to dole out that type of thing, especially when there is no actual like face-to-face interaction for it. But I've had trainers who haven't even been a trainer for 6 months working our place, and this person misses like 3 or 4 workouts, or they come and like they're just not super focused, and they like the client doesn't even complain. They just, the trainer thinks they're no fun to train. They're like, we should let them go. Like they're just taking up a spot. And it's like, okay, one, are you going to take the financial hit for letting them go? And two, why is them not being dissatisfied with the service you're providing a reason to let them go?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, because that's interesting. I've had people that even like experienced trainers that'll bitch on Facebook, oh, I fired this client. You know, they keep fighting me when I try to give them, I don't know, fucking front squats. It's like, they don't liking fucking front squats. Stop making them front squat, dude. Like, you're there to provide a service for them. It's not the other way around. And a lot of new
Yeah.
trainers get this like, well, if you're my client, you're gonna do this. It's like, well, I'm sorry, but then you're not gonna have any fucking clients.
Yeah.
Like, no one even knows who you are. I go on, you know, like I go on your social media, and you know, these fucking guys that go on really like big Instagram guys like Lane Norton and Stan Efferding and who's the fucking doctor? I'm losing his um the Ozempic, god damn it, Nadolski.
Hmm.
Like they will go on their stuff and they'll criticize these guys who have like decades of experience. I click on their fucking Instagram profile. It's like they got 1 follower. Their profile is private. They have
Yep.
no picture. I go to their website, and their website looks like it was built on Angel Fire in 1997. And it's like, who the fuck are you to even be criticizing these guys with such an attitude? It's not like,
Yeah.
hey, what, I have a question or I have a perspective. It's like, no, I know the answer. And it's like, you have nothing to back up your stuff. I don't feel like, and this might be like me and the old man attitude, but like people don't want to fucking try to get good. They just want to tell people how good they are and expect people to
Yeah.
fucking trip over their own dicks trying to sign up with them.
I think
Like, and
the
like
thing
it,
too, like, well, like at your gym, and I know because I basically helped run your gym for 3 months.
yeah, yeah,
And I know your clients, and a lot of them that I was there with are still there.
yeah.
And it is very much like our gym, and people have to understand, like, those are gen pop gyms. Those clients are never going to do. If you have 100 clients, there might be 5 that are really good and do everything that you want them to do, and you're going to have 95 who are just good to get to the fucking gym and try to eat enough
Mhm.
protein. And that's the reality of trading normal people. They don't have a passion for this shit like we do. And it's our jobs to teach them how to have that passion, or try to give them at least like 10% of the passion we have for it, and try to change their lives. You can't fire people because they're busy gen pop people who have priorities that don't fucking revolve around eat, sleep, train shit.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't even actually use like before and after pictures to market to our target demographic, because our target demographic at Gen Pop is more turned off by that being the
Yeah.
expectation the gym is providing. You know, and like, I mean, our gym's name is fucking all strength training. So like we drive the concept of strength being like the cornerstone of a lot of stuff. It doesn't always mean, and this is something we have to teach to some of our new trainers when they start doing consults and sales, is like, look, just because you think someone is overweight, you can't assume the goal they have is fat loss.
Yeah.
Like you might look at them and say, I think you should be leaner, because I've watched clusterfucks of consults with coaches who are doing it where they make all these assumptions. Like they lead the conversation like, oh, we're gonna get you to drop this and drop this much weight and you can buy new pants, and they're like, my knee hurts.
Yeah.
I was hoping you guys could help me with my knee.
Yeah.
The worst one was I had a guy do that and the woman was like, I'm pregnant. She wasn't, but she did it to the guy and then she fucking stormed out because she was so pissed that he was basically
Oh,
just
Jesus.
deciding. There was never even a discussion of like, hey, why are you even here?
Yeah.
I teach our client, like, first question, hi, my name is Zach. What brings you here?
That's it. That's it. And it's the thing is if it's somebody who obviously we look at them and we go, they probably need to lose some weight. We don't need to address that yet. If they go, my knee hurts, there's an easy diplomatic way of looking at them going, look, so here's the thing, like, let elephant in the room, you got a couple of pounds, you got a couple of pounds of stored energy that we could probably get off. And that's probably going to be the biggest thing that's going to help your knee. And we're not trying to turn you into a fitness cover model. But I tell you, if you lose a couple of pounds, that's going to help out a lot. And then we'll do some rehabby type work and we'll work on the knee. But, you don't necessarily have to lose it, but that's going to help. Like there's a way of being diplomatic without turning this into, hey, I'm going to turn you into a physique athlete. And I used to do the same shit. Like when I worked at Gold's, every woman who walked in the gym, I was going to turn them into a fucking physique athlete. Every guy walked in the gym, I was going to turn them into a power lifter, physique athlete, or strongman. And I quickly realized that, and quickly meaning it took me a couple of years to figure it out, that not everybody wanted to compete like I did. And that wasn't the fucking gym. And I couldn't keep enough people. My turnover rate for the people with money was super high. And all the teenagers wanted to lift with me, but their parents aren't going to pay for them to train forever. And then they're going to go to college at some point. But like, that's the reality of gym pop training. I'm just happy if they fucking show up 3 days a week.
Yeah. Oh man. Like there's a, guys ever seen the show Ted Lasso?
Oh, I love that show.
I haven't.
So there's, the scene where he's playing darts with the guy in the bar. You remember that? So there's
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
show, he brings up a quote from Walt Whitman that's be curious, not judgmental, which like if you're watching this, go to YouTube, like literally right now and type in Ted Lasso darts. And then in 6 minutes, when you started crying, like come back and watch the rest of this thing.
Yeah.
But it like the whole concept is like nobody actually asks any fucking questions. They just assume that like, I know that, okay, well, you appear to me to be overweight, so therefore I know exactly what you want. Or like, I think I know why you're missing workouts. You missed 3 workouts in a row, so I'm assuming you're just a lazy piece of shit that doesn't want to come to the gym.
Yeah.
You don't even fucking ask. And then, you find out, oh, they're going through a divorce, or like their dog died, or like, I don't know, any number of things. If like you just open your fucking mouth, you'd have gotten somewhere.
And the thing is, if you just keep firing people, you've lost an opportunity to eventually get them where they need to be. And you may be the best person for this, and they end up going to somebody who really fucks them up. Like when you ask about like firing clients, Ali, when she first came on, she was training with one of the coaches underneath me. And he would constantly, and I think I've told you this before, Ali, he would constantly complain because she wouldn't eat enough. She wouldn't do this. She wouldn't do what he said. And I was like, I told him, I said, just fire her. Fuck it. Fire her. If it's affecting you that bad, tell her to fuck off and fire the cunt. And he was like, no, no, no. And I told him this about a few clients because he complained about a lot of his clients. And then I finally looked at him. I said, you know what? I don't think this is an Ali issue. I think this is a coaching issue, that it's probably a culture thing. Like she's from the Northeast. bitches from the Northeast are hard cunts. Like you can't. She was a fucking athlete. She went to university playing soccer. Like you can't talk to her like fucking Susie Muffin Top. You have to talk to her like she's from the Northeast. You have to talk to her like she's an athlete. And then so I finally took over. I was like, I'll just take over. And I talked to her like she was a piece of garbage. And she responded to that because she's a fucking athlete and that's what drives athletes. And all of a sudden, the first 3 months, she's like, better results than she had the first couple of years with him. And he was like, oh, it's just because it's you. She just respects you. I go, no, no, no. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the way I talk to her because I talk to her like a fucking athlete and I'm a fucking coach. And that's what she's going to want. And now she fucking bench presses 200 pounds at fucking what, 127, 228 pounds of body weight. About 130, 130, 132 right now, right? Because you put on like
Yeah,
a kilo.
I'm obese.
Deadlifts 335 pounds. You know, I mean, it's like if I'd given up on her then, who would she be in the situation she is right now? So you have to give people an ample opportunity to get their shit together.
It is like dating. Like we have clients that have started with one coach. It wasn't the right fit personality wise. They moved to another one. They have more success. So a lot of that too. Like, I don't know if coaches in a commercial gym would have the self-awareness to identify that and be like, you know what, you might be better off working with my colleague because then they lose money, even though
Right.
it's the right thing to do for the client. Just means somebody else is going to come your way. You're going to be able to fill that slot. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know if coaches would do that. I mean, it's crazy that they fire people for like, not doing certain things. I can understand it. I used to get so angry that my golfers wouldn't want to like look more jacked just because of the stigma with lifting weights in golf. Because we had these
Yeah.
guys actually deadlifting and doing shit that you weren't supposed to do for golf.
Right.
And they were very happy doing what they did. And I'm like, you can go so much fucking heavier. But like, Tiger Woods is huge. So we can't be that big. But they literally next to women, the golfers would be like, I don't want to get that big. I'm like, bro, we goblet squat 50 pounds twice a week. We're good. But
Well,
I would
I
never
think like,
fire any of them because like they enjoyed that time. That was like they were okay paying for what they wanted. My goals for them didn't matter as much as their goals for them.
well, I think a lot of trainers just don't want to either accept the fact that they shouldn't train everybody. Like, I will
Mhm.
openly admit there are people that like we've had people come into our place and I'm like, look, I just don't think this is going to be the right fit for you. I think you're looking for something different. I've got some recommendations. Why don't you check out, like, that's why I know that, the places in our area, like, why don't you check out this place or this might be good for you. What's the fucking worst that happens? They walk out thinking like, well, he didn't take my money. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't
they
like
respect you.
I didn't like his workout, but he recognized that I didn't like it. So he said I should try something different. Like, what? If you think of like long game, we've had people that we've done that with, and then 2 months later, they fucking refer their work colleague to us. And we look back and I'm like, who is this person? I'm like, oh, they did a trial with us in 2017, never
Mm.
paid a dime for anything, did like 2 trial workouts with us, and now they're referring us people.
Yeah,
Like,
they respect you for that. I
yeah,
think
like we didn't
Yeah.
part of
take your
that
money. Yeah.
trainers in gyms, I think part of the suggestion that I've made to newer coaches is go to a commercial gym, get in front of as many personalities and orthopedic issues and all that stuff so you know how to navigate it, so you know who you want to work with and who you don't. And if they go online, I think a lot of them still have trouble. They say who they want to work with, but they don't say who they don't work with because they're afraid to turn the money away. Like I have no problem saying if you're postpartum or pregnant or what, I don't know anything about that shit.
Right.
But when I was younger, I'm like, oh God, this guy wants to be like pickleball champion. I got to go research this. And then you learn about it and then you can become more selective. And I have colleagues who are great at what they do. And then, like you said, you refer people to someone else. They're like, holy shit. And then they respect you. And then they'll refer someone who's more of a fit for you.
Yeah.
But
Well, I
having that
mean,
self-awareness is huge. And I think coaches are afraid to turn away the money, but it's okay because it actually makes you look better because you're saying, you know what? I'm not the right person. It's like saying in a Q&A or something, I don't know, but I know someone who does.
Right. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be capable of training everybody. And we, like Ali, you said when you first got into training, you're like, I'm going to train nothing but athletes. When
Yeah.
we first opened our gym, we marketed it as a sports performance training center. We've been open for going on 14 years. We've trained like 10 fucking athletes.
Yeah.
And they're always like kids under 17. It's always
Yeah.
their parents work out with us. So they send their kids, or people send their kids and then the parents start working out with us after. But it's never like,
Yeah.
minus one time we had someone that I would consider to be like high level walk into our gym. It was actually an actor from the show Empire. Came to our gym, wanted to train with us, gave me his credit card, and then tried to haggle with me on how expensive we were.
Yep.
And then he left and like he literally disappeared into the wind. He took his credit card and he never came back again. He came with like the full hood up, like he's fucking Michael B. Jordan and Creed. Like you can see him coming down the sidewalk, like with a hustle on, walks in, just throws his credit card on the desk, and he's like, "How much?" And I told him, he's like, "Can I get that card back?" I'm like, wait a minute, are you fucking for real?
Oh, they
Because
are.
athletes also don't have any money. So they're
No.
really hard to train. Gen Pop has money and would like to pay for it
Yep.
because them not dying is a really valuable concern for them. So if you can keep them not dying, you can have clients for a long time. Our retention rate is 34 months on average for a client at our place
It's awesome.
because like we listen, and fuck, Ali, how long you been with Luke?
6 years, going
6
on
years?
7.
Because he has helped you not die and like listens to your shit, right? Like it's not that hard
No.
when you're willing to get past some of the like you put your ego aside. Training is not about you, it's about the person handing you a credit card. That's
Yeah.
like I don't understand why it's so hard for some people, not all trainers. I don't want to completely knock out, but some people just can't get that. They don't always want to train the way you train. I've
Yeah.
been in gyms seeing bodybuilders giving 40-year-old soccer moms calf raises and wrist curls for their workout.
Oh boy.
Like, what are you fucking doing? But like that's that sort of shit. So
Yeah.
But I mean, like
yeah.
it's good to have a system. It's good to have like fundamental things that you take care of. Like I still like prioritize some big lifts, like front squats, back squats. All that doesn't mean everybody does them though.
Right.
I have a gym pop client in America that she sent me a message. Goes, she hates back squats. Okay, but she likes the front squat, so we just front squat.
Yeah.
It's a better lift for her. Feels better. It's a better lift for her. So it's like, okay, so I'm never going to give her a back squat again, except maybe for as a test, just to see, like, let's do one phase of back squats, and you won't have them for the rest of the year. Like, you have to be able to be flexible and say, all right, not everybody's going to fit into my ideal system. And when we bought the IOPC, I had been out of touch with training Gen Pop. I guess I'd forgotten how bad they are. And I'm also used to clients in Texas. So in Texas, everybody grows up playing volleyball, baseball, softball, football, all that. So it's a huge sporting culture. So people tend to be quite a bit more active, especially being like in Austin. So when I got to Australia, they don't have those types of systems here. They don't have as many sports as we do. They don't grow up playing sports in high school. So um, I had to reevaluate how I was thought about training people because their priorities and their beliefs and values and their experiences didn't line up with how I do things. So we started doing group classes and I was writing these beautiful, beautiful periodized programs. Everybody's getting strong as fuck. And this went on really good for like a half a year. And then I'd be like, all right, yeah, you've gone from 75 kilo deadlift to 155. And the guy's like, I don't really care about that. I just want to be able to eat pizza and drink wine on the weekend and not get fat. And I'm like, cool. So then I had to start, like, they were used to boot camps and F45 Orange Theory shit. And I'm like, all right, so I have a decision to make. I can do what I think is right for the client and lose clients and lose money in business, or I can I can negotiate with my own ego and give them some stuff that they actually like too. So then I developed the concept of the happy ending, where we'd give them a 5-10 minute like brutal Metcon at the end so they could feel huffy puffy, sweaty, pukey, because that's what they were looking for. And I gave them that. And then they all wanted to have cardio in the workout where they might do A1 lift, A2 lift, and then A3, some type of cardio. And that's at the point where I was like, I'm out. Like I said, okay, I can't actually do that. So I then handed everything over to Zoe and the rest of the staff. And I'm like, this is your group classes now. I'll come in and teach, but I can't write this type of workout because it's not, I don't like that. I don't like it. So I just had to say, this is not my expertise. I'm going to hand this off to other people and I'll just show up and coach and not have to worry about the programming side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're killing it too. When we first started the group classes, we had like 1 or 2 at night, 1 during the day. And we got to a point where you had to have like 6 or 7 classes because they were all completely filled out. So, if you have some success like that, you're doing something right. So it's like you find a good formula. You don't want to fuck with that too much.
Well, I mean, I think the benefit to trainers coming up now is that you've got such an easier way to refer people to you. It used to be that, fuck, like, let's say you're in a city like Chicago. It's like, if you're in a gym on this side of Chicago, fucking people 6 miles away will never even know you exist because there wasn't any way to kind of make people aware of you. Even if they would be willing to drive to you, there's no like yellow pages for the trainers. Now it's not that fucking hard, where if you make people happy, they can just like, they'll tag someone in one of your Instagram posts and be like, go work out with this dude. I've been training with him. He's great. Like, you just gotta make people happy and then have a way to be reached, and like you can start building a business that way.
Back in the day, it's like walking around putting flyers under people's windshield wipers and doing mail outs. Like, you actually had to do shit like that. There was nothing like Instagram marketing and none of that stuff.
I think it's crazy that we've hired trainers that don't even have the fact that they're a trainer in their bio on like social media. Like, why would you not want to tell anybody
It's weird
what you do? Like,
Super
that's
weird.
how you it's like they kind of lean into us doing all that, because like we do tell coaches when we hire them, like, look, we're gonna we provide a base and a salary so that because a lot of people have, if they've worked in commercial gyms, they know that the majority of your pay is based on you being a dick and just closing deals, and we don't like to do that. But like, still, fuck, if you bring people, we'll pay you for that. Like, that's of huge value. So like, throw it in your fucking Instagram bio that you work at our place, and then post some stuff about you in the gym. And then if they come asking for you, I'm like, cool, here's half the money they just paid me because you're the reason they showed up.
Just have all of your staff do one bodybuilding show, because then they'll put like Luke NPC competitor Leaman or something like that on their Facebook.
Yes, that's the one. And the one they can do photo shoots in front of our all glass gym and attract people who want to look in and do stuff.
And smash their dicks against the window,
Right.
which is
right.
quite a common occurrence at your gym.
That was my segue into that story. So I'm going to tell this story. Ali, I don't know if you've heard this story before. I think I've told it at Austin. So our gym, All Strength Training in Chicago, if you don't know where we are, we're on it's a very residential heavy road, but it's very well traveled. And our storefront is all glass, wall to wall. It's, I think, roughly 200 feet long. And it's like glass, meaning like floor to ceiling. So like the windows are roughly 14 feet high. It's really fucking big. And we get tons of foot traffic. And we open at 5 a.m. And this would have been, I think, the first year or so that we were open. It was the Friday morning. Halloween would have been on Thursday night. So at 5 a.m., people from Halloween are coming home. And it's like, to the left is the area of Chicago called Boys Town. So it's, very high gay male population. So you would see costumes that reflect that as people are walking by. You see, a guy in assless chaps, and then a guy dressed like a Super Mario raccoon, like from Super Mario 3. That was a guy's Halloween costume. So these guys are walking by the windows when you're training people at 5 a.m. I've got like a full group of 4, and we're all like chuckling because they wave and we wave, and just everyone's having a good fucking time. And then I have people doing TRX push-ups, and I hear a knock on the window, and I turn, and it's not a dude in a costume. It's just he's probably like, I'm guessing maybe like early 20s, slick back hair, like I'm assuming kind of like Latino heritage, like olive-ish skin, polo shirt, and he just knocks, and I look at him, he makes like a kissy face at me. So I roll my eyes because like it's not an uncommon thing for guys in our area. So I turn back to what we're doing, and they keep doing their stuff, and I'm coaching our clients, and then I hear another knock. So now I turn, and he's there again, but his pants are down, and he's got his dick smashed against the window, which I don't know. Like I'm straight, so I don't know if ladies, if this is appealing to you to
No.
have it smushed up against glass. It sort of looks like if a bug runs into your windshield. It's like that, but blown up at a scale significantly larger.
Ew.
I found out that that particular technique is called a mushroom stamp, is apparently the Urban Dictionary term for it. So fortunately, when this happened, nobody was looking but me because they were all in the middle of like a set of back squats or some shit. So I'm happy I didn't have just a, because it would have, at the time it was like, I think like 3 women in their mid 40s like doing fucking squats and push-ups and something. I'm happy that they didn't see this, and then because the whole everything would have fallen apart. So dude, I turn and I hear knocking again, and I won't even fucking turn anymore. And so eventually he goes away. And then later that afternoon, one of my coaches came into work, and I'm like, hey man, I handed him Windex and a rag. I was like, hey man, I need you to go out and clean the windows outside. There's some stuff on the windows. So he goes, he's like, all right, weird, but whatever. So he goes and does it. And then he comes back, and I was like, oh, by the way, funny story. The reason I need you to clean that is because some dude had smashed his shit up in that window at 5 this morning, and I didn't want to touch it. So that is the sort of neighborhood that our gym resides in.
I remember you told
So,
me there was a Nando's down the street, and there's not
yes.
very many Nando's in America. So I was thrilled because I love Nando's. So Zoe and I are driving that way, and I look over to the side, and there's a guy, and this wasn't even Halloween. It was in the middle of the afternoon. Guy's walking down the street in basically like an entire fishnet chainmail looking outfit and underwear, and that's all he had on. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yep. Yeah. There are regulars that we see. There was a guy that used to dress up like Dracula every day. He would dress up like Dracula with the teeth and everything.
Oh my God.
And he would just go to the corner and he would read Bible passages,
Wow,
which made no sense.
Christian
No one
vampire.
understood a Christian vampire. I don't get it. It's like a weird Twilight role, what
So
was it,
strange.
fanfic kind of thing. I don't know. It's something. He had a sword. It was strange. I don't know. This is the sort of stuff that makes me want to do more online training than in-person training, but I don't know. I don't know.
Online training's boring compared to that, though.
It
Yeah.
is. I don't know. I don't know that I could go completely to online training because, like I said, the type of people that we work with, them being online would kind of be a dumpster fire because they want that face to face. That's why I
Yeah.
hate when people skip the idea of being in a gym and working with people in person first. Like, fuck, dude, you learn so much. One, you learn how to actually coach right when you actually have to move people. Two, you learn how to actually like coach them. You learn how to talk.
Hmm.
Like, people don't know how to talk to people,
No.
Yeah.
especially like if
Now.
you've been raised on technology. Well, I mean, think of it. This is the reason why fucking Tinder exists, is because people don't actually know how to go out and talk to someone to get them to go on a date with them. So it would hold true that like there will be a training app where you will swipe right or swipe left to pick clients. That's eventually what it's going to turn into.
It's actually a good
You
idea.
know, I don't know what we would call that.
I mean,
I would,
that's the thing. Like I said, I haven't been able to go to the gym and train people, and I don't have to. I could sit here all day and do this.
yeah,
I've done my hard yards in the gym. I want to. because there's a man sitting here for 12 hours a day. At some point, you're not talking to anybody. You're
Mm.
just like typing, and so it's good to be able to go in and sharpen your sword a bit, so your sword doesn't get dull. You know, so I like going in and training people still.
I remember when COVID hit and we had to switch all to virtual training. I almost had a mental breakdown, like 60 days into COVID, because I'm so used to like our gym is always there's like my staff and there's always clients in there. And I remember I was the only one. We had to furlough our whole staff over COVID initially because we lost 75% of our members overnight. So I was training people on Zoom from 5 a.m. until 9 p.m., 6 days a week. It was like probably a month into it. And it was like 8 o'clock at night. And I signed off from a session. And then I turned and I started talking to someone that wasn't actually there. And I was like, oh, fuck. I am actually breaking down right now. This is so bad. Because, like, I mean, now that was a really extreme example, but everyone had that problem over COVID of like, oh my God, I don't know how to survive without
Mm.
no human contact. But yeah, that shit was terrible. So I can't like it's more fun to have people, especially if you don't know how to be a trainer. Everyone should do like, some people say you have to work in food service and be a waiter or be a waitress for like 6 months so you learn how not to be a dick to people.
Mm.
Everyone should have to work in a commercial gym for like 12 months before
Mhm.
you can open your own business or create. You should have to work in a commercial gym for 12 months before you can have an Instagram account. That's my, if you want to have like a fucking blue check mark next to your name, show me that you've worked at like an Anytime Fitness or a Planet Fitness for 12 months, and then you can have a blue check mark. Because then I know that you actually have trained and you've gone through some shit if you've done 12 months at a commercial gym.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you've seen the weirdest trainers on the planet.
I love training at the gym full time, especially when I was at Gold's in Austin. Man, that was some of the best times of my life training people. I love that job.
I liked training at Gold's in Sacramento because it was right next to the basketball stadium. So you get like the basketball players come in and train with their trainers, but then the basketball players' wives would train with the regular trainers, but they're the ones who would like they just gift you shit because they got nothing else to do. They're like, "Oh, I
Mm.
I bought what shoe size are you?" And then you come in the next day, they just fucking bought you a pair of Nike Shocks. They're like, "Oh yeah, my husband's sponsored by Nike. Here you go." I'm like, "Oh, awesome." I don't give a shit about training the basketball players. I want to get in with the family because they're also
Yeah.
rich, but they will hook some shit up. One of them bought me a $400 safety squat bar because he wanted to use it.
Yeah.
So it just showed up at the gym. He's like, "Oh yeah, I want to use this. Can we just keep it here?" I'm like, "I don't know if we can." We chained it up in the gym so he could safety squat. It was awesome. That's how you do that shit.
Yeah.
All right, we're pushing fucking 2.5 hours here. Are you guys
Ye-
you guys want to wrap up? You guys got anything else you want to throw into this last minute advice for trainers, dick jokes you want to make? I don't know if we've hit our quota.
Uh, we only told the story of Austin. I don't know how many dick jokes we have.
That's true.
Told
Well, there was
some
that. There was the
my
mushroom stamp
size,
guy.
mushroom
And we got
stamp. I don't know what
Mhm.
6 inches really is.
that's true.
6 and 10 inches look similar to me. I don't know if it feels similar.
Is that a
Another
depth
story.
perception thing? Is that like you should see an optometrist? I don't know what that means.
I have no
I don't
comeback
know.
to that. I
Right.
don't know
That's
where to go with that.
they're really
It's
that
almost
there shouldn't
bedtime
be.
for me. So
That's right. We're all old enough that we will. Well, Luke, you're what, 13 hours ahead of us or whatever you are?
Yeah, it's 10:30 in the morning.
Oh, you're a lot more than that. Okay. Yes. We're all old enough that you're probably ready for bed now, though, too.
who, Luke?
Me?
Yeah, you stayed up late, so you're probably already ready
Yeah.
for bed.
I say, but I shouldn't have done it. I knew too. I knew I was like, oh man, the story's getting good. This never-ending book that I'm reading. And I was like, I gotta finish a chapter. I have to. And yeah, but I can't sleep during the day. I've got to when the sun's out, I can't sleep. Like my wife can She can fall asleep, bombs going off, whatever. I can only sleep at night. So I'm in it. I'm in it
Wow.
until it's bedtime.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get my nighttime tea and wind things down so I can go to bed like an old man should.
Sleepy time tea. Luke,
Oh,
I ran almost 13 kilometers today.
Jesus Christ.
I
Why?
felt
Are we gonna get ready for a fucking half marathon, or what are we doing here?
I have no idea. He had me 45 to 60 minutes today, and I felt so good that I just kept going. And an hour and 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh, that was fun.
You
It's
know,
funny. Well, it's funny
you
because
you
like
you were prepping me for a WBFF show and you made me run a 5K once for my cardio,
Just
and
one.
it took me 52 minutes to run that 5K.
yeah, I've been there. Been there. Well, it's
Yep.
funny. So when I started training Zach for that show, he was doing like he had written like 12 sessions a week and a bunch of powerlifting and all this. I'm like, bro, you're sleeping like 4 hours a night. Like, you can't do
Yes.
this. So we're gonna cut this down to like 4 sessions, and we're gonna have some cardio, and then I want you to sleep, like put a yoga mat in your office and sleep instead of train. And he put something like, what'd you put, like 7 or 8 pounds on in 3 weeks?
It was like 8 pounds.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. But that's the shitty thing for me is I don't respond well to high volume training, but I fucking love high volume training. Like if I could just do like 20 sets per body part 3 times a day, I absolutely would. Like I don't understand people who are like, "Oh my God, I don't want to do fucking Bulgarian split squats for 15 reps. It's too many reps." I'm like, "No, that's where it starts to get good." Like I don't
Fuck that.
understand what the problem is. Like I remember I put together a 20 exercise giant set for my leg day once just because I want to see if I could do it. That's the shit that
No.
like is my favorite. I respond really well to like 2 working sets and like 4 workouts a week, but I would rather do like 60 working sets and 50 workouts a week
I
and
definitely respond
sleep 2 hours a night.
I respond way better to high volume, but it's like high set volume
Yeah.
and higher percentage intensity and lower reps. Definitely much more than I do high reps. I'm just not built for high reps.
Yeah.
What do I respond best to?
Whatever the fuck I give you.
I don't
Yours
even
has
know. I
changed.
just do whatever he says.
Yeah, yours has
That's
changed. Well, yours has changed a lot. She responds really well to the heavy strength work now, right?
yeah.
And a lot of like functional
Fun.
hypertrophy and like low end hypertrophy stuff. So
Well, what are you doing
yeah,
for weighted pull-ups now? I saw what was your last video you put on Instagram of you doing pull-ups? It was what, like a fucking 45 or something on your hips?
45.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been working sets of 5 at 45. My PR is 80 for one. That
Shit.
was tough, but I love that. It's fun. Plus
Yeah.
it really gets to people like dudes who can't do that. And then they're like, oh man, like I literally signed up a guy for coaching where he saw my pull-ups and he's like, that's more than me and this needs to change. And I was like,
Ha!
Yeah.
all right, it's working. But it's fun,
There you go.
like I mean, because like my social time is at my gym, so I make friends with the people that are there.
Mm.
Like the guy who spotted me for the bench, he's like, I think I recognize you from the Merrick videos. And then we just started talking because he literally beltless, strapless will rep out 500 pounds on deadlift for 10 reps. And just
Fuck.
like it's no problem, like or whatever. And I was like, are you competing? He's like, not right now, but I'm a paramedic and a firefighter and like, I don't sleep a lot, but I'm like, bro, you literally come in and just like put on like 20,000 plates and like just no big deal. Like no belt, no straps, whatever. And I'm impressed by him. And then you make friends and stuff like that and we start talking about TRT and all that stuff, but like
I like that.
yeah. But yeah,
I like
I
that. I like
guess
that.
yeah, that the strength stuff that he gives me, I love.
Yeah.
I
I
just
think it's important when you look at like I always try to look at what people did when they were younger, especially if I'm training people from America, where almost everybody, at least our age, almost everybody would have played sports. So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, what sports did you play? What did you gravitate toward? And then the big question is, were you any good? Because I had to learn that in Texas because every man in Texas is like, it's almost required. It's expected for you to play football or at least be on the team whether you play or not. So we, in our high school, I graduated with 138 people in my class. I think it was 134, 138. And it's like we had like 70 guys on the football team. So obviously you have, half of those guys actually play and half of them don't play. So you have to ask that question too. So like with Ali, I'm thinking, okay, I mean, she's a soccer player. So lots of sprinting, all that. So that's what I'm gonna do mainly with her is I'm gonna see like how does speed, power, and like high level strength stuff work with that person. And then like Zach, when I was training you before you got on TRT, you were like, if you looked at Wikipedia ectomorph, it was you, right? And
Yes.
so like,
Yes,
and a lot of
it's
stuff,
yeah.
yeah, a lot of stuff we did with you would have been, hypertrophy and strength endurance. And
Mhm.
I remember when I did train you for that last WBFF one, um, I looked at your program, I'm like, why do you have all this powerlifting stuff in here? And you were like, well, I like to powerlift. And I'm like, yeah, but Zach, you're not really built for it. I'm like, I know
No,
you competed in powerlifting. Were you any good? And you were like, not particularly. And I'm like, well, there you go.
right,
Why don't we remove
right.
this and just do bodybuilding?
Yes. Yeah. I went through this weird powerlifting obsessive phase. I was a terrible fucking powerlifter. I have no business doing it. But yes, I remember that. Like, why am I doing 8x3 for like incline press and fucking bent over barbell row?
I mean, you're getting ready for WBFF fitness. It's like that is
Yeah.
not a fucking requirement at all. It's
No.
funny because when we went to the show in Chicago, like again, kept trying to get him to get his hormones checked, and he was the most pilled. His skin looked like it was wrapped in saran wrap. Like you could see his pancreas secreting insulin. He was that fuck. He
That's
made
awesome.
every other guy on stage look fat. He just needed another like 12 pounds, and he would have
Mm.
fucking swept that show easily. And I was actually going to compete in that show, but I broke my ribs like 6 weeks before it. I was training for it. I was like, fuck it, I'll jump on stage too. And I broke my ribs, so I couldn't train. And I got there and I was like, if I had actually stepped on, I would have gotten my pro card because there was like three guys on stage. Two of them looked like they weren't even ready to get ready for a bodybuilding show. And the other one actually looked like he needed to be in like an NPC bodybuilding. Like he didn't look like a WBFF muscle model. I was like, man, I would have cleaned this shit up and I wouldn't even had to look that good because these guys look terrible. But then I probably would have been like, I can't accept my pro card because this was like clubbing baby seals.
You would have blown it
Back.
though, because you would have eaten with me at Red Robin and blown your peak.
No, no fucking way. No, I wouldn't.
No.
Okay, so we could not fill him out. We were giving all this food. He was eating okay, he was eating like Christine would go to Whole Foods and buy every pound cake they have, and he was sitting there eating like pound cakes. Or is that's what
Yeah.
it was,
It
wasn't it?
was
Like
yeah, it was
the
it was angel food cake, and there's a
angel food
picture
cake.
she had. It was two of my kids and my nephew. They all because he was at our house, and they went to three Whole Foods and they cleared out every gluten-free angel food cake in the Whole Foods. It was like 13 angel food cakes for
And
Thursday and Friday because
I
he
could
got so
not
pissed
fill him out.
because like by Thursday morning he started carb loading like Wednesday afternoon after we did our last depletion workout. He started with like 500 grams of carbs on Wednesday night. And he's like, oh, this will be fine. Like we're doing pancakes and stuff. And then I woke up Thursday morning. He's like, I think I lost weight. I was like 148 on Wednesday and I was like 146 on Thursday. He's like, fuck. So he kept feeding me. And we had angel food cake at our house because Christine loves it and she's got celiac. So she uses it's like gluten-free stuff. So that's what we had. And he's like, why don't we just keep hammering that? Because it's dry.
Yeah.
So we went through in 2 days, 13 of those fucking things. I was at the athletes meeting on Friday night before we got tanned. And Sean Stafford was one of the head judges. I'm sitting in the front row and I've got 3 Tupperware containers. And all it is, he took my fat was at 0. My protein was at like 30 grams for the day, not for a meal, for the day. And it was 1,200 grams of carbs for Thursday and Friday.
Dude.
So I'm sitting at the athletes meeting. I open up my Tupperware and people next to me are eating like tilapia and broccoli. And I have a cooler and I open it up and it's like 12 ounces of angel food cake, like half a container of fat-free Cool Whip, and then just handfuls of gummy worms on top of it.
Yum.
And I have a fork, and I went through 3 of them at the athletes meeting. And Sean Stafford, who was one of the judges, he said he stopped like halfway through the meeting. He's just staring at me like this. And he comes up to me afterwards and he's like, "Are you Luke's guy?" Because he had seen Luke posting about him online.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, he's like, "You're such a fucking dick." He's like, "You're in the front row here." I'm like, seriously, I'm trying. I can't. And then you were Saturday morning, you were pissed because that still didn't do anything.
So we went to Red Robin, and he has a hamburger, a shake. It was a salted caramel shake, right? And then you
Yeah.
had
The
in
monster size, where they
fries.
brought the extra, like a second container.
I think it was like 4,000 or 5,000 calories for a meal.
Yeah.
We're driving to the competition. He goes, "Fuck, I'm hungry. I could have eaten another one of those." I'm like, "Holy fuck!"
It was ridiculous.
Damn.
And then oh, this is the part we always forget to tell. You're also you filled up a blender bottle full of Cabernet. Because you're like, it was Cabernet and glycerol. Because like, all right, sip this like a couple of ounces backstage so that the wine and the glycerol will help fill you out. And I am backstage talking to one of the other competitors, and it's like the women are going, and the women in WBFF take like 3.5 hours because they got like 4 costume changes, and like there's a swimsuit round, like whatever the fucking rounds are. And I'm drinking it, and I had the whisk in the bottle, and I hear the whisk hit the bottom, and I'm like, I fucking drank an entire bottle of wine. This is probably not good because my tolerance for alcohol is like non-existent since I left college and decided not to be an alcoholic anymore. So it doesn't take much to get me buzzed. So then I was on stage, buzzed out of my fucking mind. They're like calling my number, trying to get me to move places on the stage. And I don't realize they're talking to me. Someone has to like grab me by the shoulders and move me to my correct spot on stage. It's not my
Drives you out really
most,
nicely, though.
it really did look good on stage, but not my best presentation I've ever had. So we
Weird.
can't use that technique anymore because I don't know how to stop.
Uh, well,
So
on that note,
yeah, I was like, why don't we use that as our sign off note? All right, guys.
this
This
was fun.
was a good fucking time. We should do
Thanks
this
for
again.
organizing. I feel like we just
Yeah.
hung out. Like we didn't really like record anything. We just hung out.
Hey,
That's where the
there
best
was a
come across.
solid like 50, 60 minutes of actual advice to take away from this.
Yeah,
Yes.
So
we should
I
probably do
will
this again and fill it up.
we'll see what this one looks like once it's posted and edited, and then maybe we'll try like a second version of it where maybe I'll have like a flow chart for us to follow.
Might want to
I'll like
run sheet. Yeah.
screen share like a fucking slideshow so we can run through it that way. But I
I love
will
it.
I'll throw Luke and Ellie's contact information in the comments under this thing. I'll see. I don't know if I can tag you guys' YouTube channels on this too or not.
Yeah, you
I
can.
probably
I think so.
can. So I will do that. So you guys can find these guys and get more of this stuff. But all
Yay.
right. Well, I should probably eat. You should go to bed. You should do whatever the fuck you're gonna do, Luke.
Eat.
And then we'll talk again.
Bye,
All right.
guys.
Awesome.
See you guys.
You guys have a good night.
Ah.
Ah.